The only problem with this is that I'm gonna have a hard time seeing the comments. So I'm not sure if I can like load it up on, let's see if I can do that. I'm wondering, because I'm blind, so trying to see the comments from here is gonna be really hard. So I'm wondering if I can look at it on my phone and then be able to see it better. Because no offense, YouTube, but you're a little bit ableist when it comes to vision, because your comments are so tiny. And I'm old, my friend. I'm old. So yeah, there's no way for me to see like my own live stream maybe. Oh, all right, hang on. I'm figuring this out. Let's see if this will be a good way for me to read the chat and look at my screen at the same time. I'm new at all this, so I don't know. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm doing my best though. Oh, it shows as one person is on. So that's interesting. I can't see who they are. So I can't say like, hi, so-and-so, unless you make like a comment. So anyways, if you're with me, I'm really grateful. I appreciate you. And today I am going to wrap up, glasses are crooked. I'm going to wrap up working on the mini abstracts. I've got a couple of dirty palettes that I need to get the paint off of. So that's what I'm going to be doing right now. Yeah, and I've got like a whole ton of this purple paint that I created for this painting, and I didn't need as much as I put on there. So I've got some work to do. Oh, and then I want to do some tape reveals. Yeah, so today is going to be a fun, exciting day in the studio. It's been, I don't know why it's taken me till I'm nearly 50 years old, when YouTube's been around for over 20 years, to realize that I could just come and teach art in a classroom that wasn't out of my house without having people into my house. Like, that is so super exciting for me. I'm not a big fan of, let me turn off my text thing so it doesn't like annoy me. I'm not a big fan of like going out and about and teaching. So this is really new to me and it's a little weird, but I'm just gonna try. Oh yes, tape reveals. So since my husband is on, just to be an extra spectator, because I know he loves working on the elevators, but he likes hearing me talk while he does it. And I can't spend all day on the phone with him. So yeah, today's going to be a day of tape reveal, catching up on these mini abstracts that we had started in last night's live. This might be a little low. Forgive me for not doing this exactly perfectly, but I do really love how YouTube has the wide format. And since TikTok and I got a divorce, you know, and TikTok, I'm not going to lie, I was cheating on you with YouTube prior to the actual divorce. So sorry about that. It is what it is. I found a new love, and I wish I'd realized it so long ago, because I had no idea that I could just bring the art classroom that I usually have to trudge through snow to get to, or invite people into my personal studio for them to come to me. I can just eliminate all of that. Not that I don't love people. I just love them, you know, in their space while I stay in my space. I'm not antisocial. I'm physically better to be in the space mostly alone. And even my husband kind of knows that, because he'll come home and I'll be like, well, you can go clean the garage if you want, but he loves to hang out on the live streams and I love to have him with me. So anyways, I thought it'd be fun to at least start with a plastic reveal. We took the plastic off this one last night, and my husband got to put the tape on, which was really fun. Oh man, I just took a drink of water and I feel like I'm drowning, so forgive my sinuses. The one thing on a live stream is my stuttering and my sinuses. That's like kind of guilty for me, a guilty thing for me. But if I was in a classroom, I would have to do the same thing. So I'm literally just gonna like get my brain into teacher classroom mode and do my live streams like that. So If you want to leave a comment, that would be great. If you're an artist or someone aspiring to learn art, leave me a little artist emoji in the comments, and I'll and tell me who you are. Just give me your handle if you post work, and we can become friends. So yeah, he applied the tape to this one. So I'm so bummed. I wanted to start writing the dates. That's probably backwards, right? Because it's a live stream. I wanted to start writing the dates on the backs of my canvases because I work on them sometimes for so long. So this one I started during Hurricane Dorian. If you're old enough to know, that was in 2018, I think. Yeah, it was 2018. And so during Hurricane Dorian, my best friend, my best artist friend, Pat, who lives down in Florida, like I love to go down and visit her. In fact, I haven't been in 2 years, and it makes me sad. You hear me, Pat? I miss you, girl. I know you came to my studio, but I still love going to yours. But anyways, she came and hung out with me during the summer, and I like to go hang out at least for a week or two during the winter. But anyways, I was down there, and it was actually in September because I don't always go only in winter. Sometimes I go several times a year. So I was down there, and all of a sudden, like, as the trip is approaching, they're talking about this crazy hurricane, crazy, like Cat 5 they were stressed about with Hurricane Dorian. And it was one of the few times that she actually evacuated. I got there that one, like the evening, the next day, we were like putting up these big corrugated shuttery things over her windows and, like, I don't know, bolting things to the ground. And then the next day I was headed to Orlando with, was it 4 or 5 other women, all of them septuagenarians or older, one of them an octogenarian at the time, and a 17-year-old cat. So here we are in Orlando in like a beautiful, beautiful Disney resort. And we couldn't go outside because even though it never really hit us, there was a lot of rain. So we sat inside, drank wine, and we had brought a bunch of art supplies with us. And I started this then. So maybe 2026 is the year that this one is finally done. But some of them happen kind of quickly. Some of them happen over just several weeks, but many of them take a long time. And that's why I have 40 or 50 of them going. I lose count, and every day we start a new one. And so back to the story. That was a very long-winded way to say last night I decided, hey, we have a ton of that purple paint. Let's paint one solid purple and have it be like the beginnings of it. And my husband's like, oh yeah, let's do that. And I grabbed a Sharpie, and who knew that this gesso on this, like, mass-produced crappy canvas is actually crappy, and you can see it through it. So what I'm going to do with this one is do a heavy purple coat. But we'd actually grabbed one that I wrote then after this mistake. I wrote it on the stretcher bar, and that started a new canvas. So technically within 2 days I'll have 2 started. And even though they finish on a rolling basis, I never finish 2 at the same time. So I'm always like inloading more than I'm outloading. So one day when I'm no longer here, my daughter is going to go, oh my goodness, Mom, what am I supposed to do with your life? She's not going to know. And she's a minimalist. And I'm like colorful maximalist, and she is elegant minimalist. So she's probably just going to, I think, you know what? We'll have to like plan in advance to donate to like the arts center or something, you know, so I don't overwhelm somebody. Because if you saw what it looks like to be an artist for 30 years, that's why my husband and I have a 4-bedroom, 2,800 square foot house with a full basement and a 3-bay garage, and every square inch is packed. We talk about moving to Florida, and then we laugh and laugh and laugh. The landlord, we rent, and the landlord talks about, you know, maybe when we move on, and then we laugh and laugh, and we've been here for 8 years. So anyways, we're going to do a plastic reveal. And this is kind of a silly way that I love to use up paint and not just waste it or not know what to do with it or feel like, oh, I have to use it. It's just really fun for me to be like really tight in these paintings that take weeks or longer grueling to create, to like then take the paint and like jump in the mud puddles, you know? It's my version of splashing in the mud puddles is with my leftover paint. So I'm gonna peel this off, and as you can see, it's got like layers of tape and layers of paint. Oh, that's right. We have to, yes. So I got smart because I can't see the comments on the iPad because I'm so blind. And so I just realized that I can open up my backup phone, my old, what is this, a 12? My old cracked, broken, beat up phone. And I can look at the cool widescreen format. I'm sorry, I stutter. And in this format, I can't edit it out. So anyways, yeah, I learned something cool, William. I learned that I can have my little phone here to read comments. Now, I'm not going to remember, but I'm looking at it on the screen. So I'm going to remember to read the comments if I can. Yeah, so what happens when I put the plastic with the like the paint on there, when it's like I'm totally done cleaning the palette, which we're going to get to shortly, then I pop it on there, but the paint like dries on the canvas and then like kind of up into the plastic, and I pull the plastic and it leaves like these hairs or fibers or whatever. So I just want to like scrape them off. And I'll probably just actually do another run of tape on this color before covering it with another piece of plastic. So actually, here we go, right here. I tried to be prepared for this live stream. I have water. I have my space heater going. I have my tunes going. I'm hoping that you can hear them. I have my mark making tools, some of them, and sorry, others. I'll grab my 3 favorites at the moment. And tape, water, paintbrush, extra plastic. I don't know. I think I got it all. Man, we've been dropped on your head and got a TBI when you're a baby. Short-term memory ain't what it ever was. All right. I remembered earrings today. Look at them. What do you think about those? This is my very first pair of micro crocheted earrings and my very first pattern test. Both same time. It's the very first pair of the very first crochet pattern test I did, designed by the beautiful and lovely and talented Sissy of Wellstone Creations. I have to just give her a little plug. She just told me today that she's given up on Facebook, so I won't say she's on Facebook, but she is on Instagram and she is on Ravelry. And now I'm starting to realize I need to say things like I'll put the link in the description, but then I won't remember. So here's another thing I'm gonna learn on the spot right in front of y'all. I'm gonna learn that right now I want to remember that at 13.5 minutes I need to link Sissy. How fun is that I'm learning this, huh? All right. Sorry, I have to take notes. I have really bad short-term memory. It's ridiculous, actually. And I used to get horribly embarrassed about it because back in the day, you didn't tell people you were dropped on your head, even if you didn't do it yourself, even if it was a result of some, I don't know what I'm allowed to say on YouTube without getting in trouble, bad things happening to you when you're just 1 year old and 2 years old. Actually, it was twice that it happened. And the resulting skull fracture has left me with memory issues. However, I'm really smart because in spite of memory issues, repetitive things, if I repeat it over and over and over and over and over and over again, and so I write things down a lot, then I actually can do really well and get good grades in school. So yeah. Anyways. But people weren't always nice to me because they didn't appreciate the fact that that is what had happened to me. So when my short-term memory would act up, and it would, and it does even still, obviously. I would get in trouble, like from teachers and stuff. So I struggled a lot in those regards because I do have to write everything down. I do. I have notebooks and papers everywhere, and you want proof of that? Like I started a note here. I've got this little thing that I put sticky notes on. I've got sticky notes hanging up on my light right now. Everywhere. I have lists going in my phone, several lists going in my phone. Oh my goodness. So yeah, I've got to write everything down. That short-term memory injury is a struggle, but instead of trying to pretend it's like not a thing, I would rather just accommodate what I need to accommodate. So anyways, back to the canvases. I'm going to do a couple of tapes on a couple of these so that I can add the next layer. I just keep adding more and more and more tape almost until there's literally no canvas left after all the layers. When I peel it back, and sometimes we look at it and we're like, oh, in fact, you know what? I did forget one thing. If you let me run right there, is one of these done? Hang on one second. I'm running, don't go anywhere. It's hanging in our little adjacent living room, and this is kind of one of them and what they look like. So anyways, I was going to grab that and I was like, no, that's not necessary. But actually, I think it's cool to have. Maybe I can set it here so you can see it. I guess it could go that way too. We hang it the other way, but yeah, that's not good. It's not wide enough. It needs to go like that way. All right. So that's got a couple extra pieces of tape on it now, so I'm good with that. I'm going to set that one aside. Another thing I want to do is I want to do a tape reveal on this one. So I kind of will go like back and forth with different frog tape layers as well. Sometimes I stack them up and layer them. So this one, the intent of this one, it doesn't look like there's much going on, but there's layers of tape in there that you can't really see. And eventually, when I get it all done, it's going to be like that. It just takes a really long time. I put several layers of paint and tape and paint and tape. And that helps it to get a really crisp, clean edge. You know, when you use like painter's tape and you paint next to it and it's straight, but it's like a little, I use an actual like refinisher's painter's method that they use in houses to achieve like a real crisp line between like color shifts. And so they seal the tape. So that's why I end up using lots of layers, but it also makes the paint color super deep and opaque. And then this actually has like a texture to it because of the layers. So it's just a neat effect in person, and it's pretty on a print. So like either way, the art is sort of visual, tactile, and hits you on more than one level. So this one, I want to peel the tape because I've got a lot on this one and I already had a lot on here. So now what I want to know is, do I like the contrast? Is it good enough? Does it need more layers? It's also kind of like floppy. Some canvases over time, excuse me, will get floppy. Like this is pretty tight, like a drum, but this one's like floppy. So I have found that if I just spray the back side of a canvas and get it a little wet, let it dry up, sometimes I'll put it in front of like my space heater, but that will almost oftentimes immediately start to improve the tightness of it. So yeah, I'm going to pull these back and see what we get. It might not look that different to you, but you see how they're like different from each other kind of. So, and it's interesting because what you can see with this one in particular, I kind of dig this. Let's get the second side off. Actually, I don't need that anymore. Ooh, interesting. So this is interesting. This one's very interesting. It's like a marriage between O Taste and C and Eye on the Prize, because these two were the leftover paints from the last painting I did, and these are mostly the leftover paints from this one. So, that's interesting. I don't necessarily feel like it's complete though. So I don't know. I'm not sure. Sometimes I have to ask my husband. He's not an artist, but he's starting to learn, but he's a color-oriented visual guy with a good sense of design. So sometimes I'll ask him, but I feel like this could I feel like this could go one of two ways. Either it's done or I go like crazy with the layers. So, I'm not sure. That one I'm gonna have to think about for a minute. All right, so another tape reveal. I've got a couple different ones I'm gonna be doing today. This one scares me because I have no idea what's going on with this. This is so old. I have no idea. And so at this point, you know what I might do with it actually? I might take that dark purple paint and do one full coat on it, let it dry up really good, and then pull the tape. I think that's what I'm gonna do. Yeah. I don't know what I was doing. I'm trying to picture it in my mind's eye. This one was started so long ago, and then, okay, so why didn't I work on it? Because sometimes I hang up, well, you can see, well, you can't really see. I hang up all my crap all over the walls. So like, I think what happened was this one just got like stuck up there, and then it, again, that short-term memory. And then I forgot about it. So now let's do these other two. I've got two more of those. And this one actually, I'll have to put tape on it because this one right now, I'd only done these two sides and not this one yet. That one is just further along. That's what I mean. They're like a rolling works in progress. Wouldn't it be cool if today I could say one of them was done though? I'm not sure. That one, as I'm looking at it, I can already tell you, I think it just needs heavier development. I don't know. I'm not the best judge of my artwork, actually. I'm not. Pre-planned paintings, I can kind of figure out. Like this one, it actually has a finish line, a finality to it. Once I get the last mark from the marker on there, it's like I know it's done. A representational painting, you kind of know when it's done, but you can overwork it, right? So I have like this painting here that is kind of done, but I've never quite finished it because I've never been happy with it. And I just need to like do the last little bit of details on it. But I struggle with representational work. And then abstract work, well, it's kind of interesting to me because I feel like it sort of tells me when it's done. So, but you know, in the sense of this piece here, I just kind of ran out of spaces to put tape. Some of it, I think I like the organic feeling, I guess, of these. It's less decision making. I feel like it's a lot of pressure to design these types of elaborate pieces and to do paintings like the duck painting. I don't think I can put them both up there together. Maybe I can. It covers up my race car though. Yeah, I don't know. I like the duck, but I don't love the duck. The duck is an exercise, and that's really all the duck is. So at some point, maybe I'll put my little stool here so that it can be like, there we go. It gives me some example. I feel like there's a gallery behind me. Oh, and look, we've got like room there where I could put another painting. So I'll showcase whatever my mad scientist color, what would you call it? This is like a color lab here. It's a color laboratory in my studio. All right. So that one, I've only done the two sides. And so I will need to get some tape. I did have some tape, but I didn't actually think about recovering. So I'll need the fatter tape for that. And then, oh, another floppy one. I don't love it. Give it a little spritz just cause, you know. just because. Yeah, I didn't think to share this with Pat Traver, William. Maybe you could do that for me. You can send, you have her number, you could send her the link and say, hey, if you feel like painting with Jen in the studio, she's doing a YouTube live because she has a YouTube account. Yeah, I would text her, but I literally don't have a device to do it. I'm doing a time lapse. I'm watching my live stream on my phone, on the old phone, which I don't think I can text anymore. And the iPad is there. So I'm hoping it doesn't die on me at any point. I have it fully charged and I was afraid to plug the microphone in with it plugged in. So I guess that's what I need the Super Cube for. All right, look at that. So I think I will have to set that up. You're not wrong about the Super Cube. So yeah, Pat, what about her? That's a weird question. Pat, like, I don't understand your question. What is your question? I was able to see that. It's better than I thought. Okay. So anyways, interesting. Huh. These are so hard to know, like, what is the right thing to do? Oh, but it's really rewarding to feel that tape back. Here, I wish I could, like, stand it up and do it. Ugh. The tape is, like, really on there. Well, I know when I was working on this one. So the one thing I can do is I can, like, go back to my social media, my Instagram, where I used to do a lot of posting. And now I just do mostly shorts. But I can see, like, when I started this. So that's because of the paint that I was using, the leftover paint. So that tape, well, no, that was covering this, right? So at least since I started this painting, yeah, at least a year. Okay, I have to, this is another one of these back here. And I noticed that I had got up to color number, is that 8? Yeah, 8. So I need to grab color number 9 and give that a nice coat. Here we go. I pre-mix my acrylic paints in batches before I even ever start the painting. That's just so I have enough and it doesn't dry out. That's why I have this, like, big Tupperware box here, because I have a palette in here, a glass palette that has my paint on it. Yeah, if you want to like the live, that would be awesome. If you want to share it, that would be even better. And if you want to subscribe, I'd love to have you along for my journey. I plan to be doing live streams as many days a week as I possibly can. Yeah. So anyways, I pre-mix, I use it all up on the painting. I use it as I go along to do the abstracts when I clean my palette off. I'm hoping I have enough to do this. I'm hoping. I'm going to give it a whirl. A little low on that color, but it's on there. So I really only need enough for touch-ups at this point, basically. So I should be able to send the link. So there should be a spot somewhere for you to share. There should be like an arrow somewhere. Yeah. Oh, that's great. Can you text her some context and not just send the link? Like, can you be polite? Can you have manners? You know, please. I appreciate that. Don't just send her the link. Be like, hey, if you want to check Jen out painting in her studio. All right. Well, thank you for being a part of the live chat. If you're able to have me at least going in the background, that's cool. But if not, I get it. Either way, whatever you got to do. So now I'm just using my old crappy brushes. I'm so grateful that I found these. Well, I didn't find them. My husband found them. Because I was complaining about how bad they were getting. And these are pretty old. Excuse me, let me take a sip of water so you don't have to listen to me choke. That's just water. I like to reuse those tea bottles. They're fabulous water bottles. Each one is 32 ounces, and 2 of them a day is 64 ounces. I don't often get 64 ounces in the wintertime because I end up drinking like tea and other stuff too, but in the summer for sure. And I'm trying to be better about water exclusively. All right, there we go. But anyways, yes, he found these for me somewhere. Jerry's Artorama, actually. And I love them for both watercolors and acrylics. They're not that expensive, and I just think they're fabulous. The way the bristles come to a beautiful point. They hold a ton of liquid without being drippy, because you can only imagine as I'm working on that back there, if I'm trying to load up a lot of paint so I don't have to keep like dunking back down into the palette to cover as big a spot as I can. I obviously want the brush to hold a ton of paint, and I want it to hold it. I don't want it to like be dripping, because then I have to do all these touch-ups, and I create enough of them just by like touching the wrong spot. So I don't need the paintbrush to add to. That would make me nuts. It was actually my husband who, again, he used to be a house painter. Now he's an elevator service technician. He's like jack of all trades. And I think he gets pretty masterful at most of them too. But anyways, I was working on these large scale acrylics, and I was really struggling with like the paint drying up, because as you know, acrylic paint is like brutal about that. And I don't like the mediums. It thins it out, and like, I don't know. So I've never been a fan of acrylic mediums. And he was like, hey, you know what we do on the job site, right? And I'm like, I don't know. He's like, you need to cover your paint. You just need to cover it with plastic. And I was like, really? So now I have this whole system of keeping my palette wet while I'm painting, and sometimes for days at a time. In fact, it's gross. I posted a short, I don't know, maybe a couple weeks ago, about how I had finally decided I was just going to give myself studio time every day and make it my job, etc. in 2026. So I uncovered the palette, and I hadn't uncovered it in forever, and I'm talking months. And the paint was still wet and functional, but there was like a ridge of mold. Somebody said, "Oh, it has mold spores." Listen, these painting, no, it's fine. It's not going to hurt anything. Trust me. It's acrylic paint. It's plastic. It dries. The mold dies off, and you're good to go. So I just like didn't even worry about it. I ended up actually having enough of that color where I didn't even have to use that. I had a whole pot of it, so it wasn't a big deal anyways. Yeah, but the paint was still wet. That was what was funny to me. It takes forever for the mold to go. So if I had just like opened it a month later, the paint would have been pretty intact actually and pristine. There is a third, so maybe that is her. Oh, well, you never know. There's no comments happening, and I can't see who's on, so it is a little bit different than the TikTok lives. Yeah. I am so glad that I got myself divorced from TikTok. I doubt I will ever even post on there again. It's such a waste of time. The people who are on TikTok are probably not going to want to be on YouTube. You know what I mean? Or maybe, I don't know. I guess every once in a while I could just pop a short up there, but it doesn't get any views. It's like I'm shadow banned for some stupid reason. So whatever. I don't really care. I was doing most of my stuff on TikTok, and it's such an uphill battle, and I don't even, and it's like just a weird thing. Once I realized how academic YouTube was, I was like, oh my gosh, this is my classroom. That's cool. I just didn't understand it. My bad. I didn't know. I thought it was for like gamer people. You know, people go live playing games or something. Some of them are like live for 8 hours a day. I had no idea. That just seemed weird to me. Like I'm not really gamer, but back in the day I kind of was. And I loved in my heyday, Ocarina of Time was my favorite. It was my jam. But yeah, I can't imagine like going on a live stream and playing that. So I don't know. These are online games, I guess, which I don't play. I was like old school. Man, my parents, we were so excited when I was 15 and we got the original Nintendo, the first one that ever came out. Oh yeah, it took me years to be able to beat Mario 1, the very first one. That was a hard game to play, man. You didn't get to save your life or whatever. If you died, whoops, I don't know if I can say that. If you unalived yourself in the game, then that was it. You got 3 lives and that was it. Game over. Game over really meant game over. I don't know if games are ever over now. So I'm trying to keep track of the comments, but if I have to look close up at the painting, then I definitely have no hope of seeing the iPad. I can barely see it, the whole iPad, let alone comments. I wouldn't be able to see them. So I am looking down at my phone and hoping that I can see. But I am noticing that I'm not catching every comment because there were comments that were made on the screen that I missed. That, well, not that I missed, that aren't here for some reason. So I don't know. I'm still learning. Please be gracious if you can. All right, so yeah, I have to like keep the painting in my face to see what I'm doing, which means you can't see what I'm doing. So I'll put my face down next to the painting instead and let you see what I'm doing that way. I actually will do 2 coats of this, so I get a very opaque look to the paint. Thin, wishy-washy paint only works for me if it's a watercolor. If it's an acrylic, it does not. And then I'll put the tape everywhere. And then I will seal those tape edges with this color so that the subsequent color doesn't bleed underneath the tape. So my husband taught me a couple things that I hadn't learned from the art community. I learned from the contracting community, how to seal tape and how to keep my paint preserved. So I gotta give him credit where credit is due, you know? I'm just looking to see the screen. All right. I also want to just keep track of my time. I have no idea really how good, what a good time is for live streaming, but I did do a little research today, and it seemed to say, well, if you're doing something academic or tutorial type based or whatever, you know, normally it would be like 30 to 60 minutes, but if you're like an academic or you're doing, you know, some kind of tutorial based artistic creative thing, then, you know, it's not uncommon or unreasonable to do like a 2-hour live. I don't know if I could do more than that because I might get tired, and the upload process would probably be awful. It does take forever to get them to download so I can whoops, got some weird color in there. To get them to download so that I can post them, but I will be posting all of my live streams from here on out. I even I had a few that I did last year in the spring, a couple fiber arts related ones, and forgot it. Like I totally forgot about that. I know it's ridiculous, but I did. And let's see, I think I did a few painting ones, but like I didn't know. So on TikTok, you can listen to whatever music you want. So a lot of times I'll have like Pandora going. Yeah, I would have like the wrong music going, and then YouTube would get mad at me, and I didn't really understand why. So like a bunch of my lives that I did do can't be posted because I didn't know that. So now I just have some ambient, however you say it, bossa nova vibes going in the background so that I can pretend I'm in Florida even when I'm not. So oh my gosh, I've taped a hair into that. That's kind of gross. All right, so that is that one. I'm going to set that aside and dump that into some water here. Close that up. This one is ready also for the next layer, but I want to get the color 10. It's a little bit darker, a little bit different. Here we go. Okay, so this one, same process. It's got all this tape on it. and the tape has already been sealed. So I'm going to do a color shift now with this color. It looks the same, but it's not exactly. So, and then each one of these will take 2 coats so that I can get it to look like, whoops, I don't know what I'm pointing at. There we go. I don't know how people do, like the meteorologists are like on the TV, and I get dizzy just trying to follow along my own self. So anyways, I just want to give this one a quick rinse-a-roo. Okay, and now I'm going to fill in these spaces with this color, which is actually this color. So it is a pretty significant shift because that's what I'm using all this leftover paint for, is for these. So you can see it is a shift. It's subtle, but it's still a shift. So I'm doing it. And apparently with this one, oh, am I out of my mind? What am I doing? With this one, apparently I've painted around the edge. Okay. This one I taped off the edge. Oh, I like that much better. I need to really think about that when I'm working, because a lot of times I just have, well, I don't mind the edges on these. I think the edges look cool, but it has like the little like interesting paint marks. You know, if that was in my house, I would want that, but I usually will seal the edge and make it white or black, or wrap the whole design around the edge, which I did with this one. And the only downside to that is, as I'm trying to impatiently get that paint on there, I'm like getting it all over myself. As that's why I wear the apron. My husband said yesterday, "Oh, should we wash your apron?" And I'm like, "What? What are you talking about? No, I don't wash my apron. It's my good luck apron, and it just exists. Don't talk about that." My daughter had a stuffed cat that her dad and I had gotten when she was a baby. That's not mine and William's daughter. It's mine and my ex's. But anyways, when she was, well, we found the cat. It was this big, giant Beanie Baby type cat with a lot of fur on it, and so fun, and like floppy arms and legs. And it was like big, long fur, gray fur. And it was bigger than her when we first found it. We found it when she was like 8 months old, and she got very, very, very excited. I remember we were walking through a Marshall's, and we were pushing her in the cart. And now, mind you, this kid was scream bloody murder in the car. You have to have the car seat facing the back of the car, and she would scream bloody murder the whole time I was driving. And we live rural, so there was no driving that wasn't filled with screaming. So anyways, we were in the Marshalls, and you know, she was only 8 months old, and yes, we were like finding things for her birthday in front of her. And we found this cat, and I just plopped it on her in the shopping cart. She was like seated in the shopping cart, and I plopped it on her, and the thing was like filled the shopping cart top where little kids sit. And she was like, she couldn't talk yet. She was just so excited that she was shaking. And so we were like, wow, she really likes this cat. So we bought it and took it home. It wasn't even that expensive. It was at Marshall's. It was like less than $20, I'm sure, $15. And we hid it away. And we gave it to her on the way home, and she didn't scream. And we're like, what? So we kind of tucked it away, and we ended up giving it to her for her 1-year birthday, which I don't know why we just didn't give it to her then. I think we were like on a budget. I don't know. But anyways, when she got it back, she was so excited. It was her first birthday. And mind you, she was the first grandchild on both sides of a really big family. That kid got like 100 gifts that day. And the only thing she cared about, was that cat before she could talk. So she started walking when she was like 14 months old, and she started to be able to talk, and she called it Kiki when she learned it was a kitty, and it became Kiki once she could start making syllables. And she would just drag Kiki everywhere, and Kiki was bigger than her probably until she was a good 1.5 years, I think. And I was asked in the most random places, is that a real cat? And it was like being not dragged. She was very particular. You do not hurt Kiki. You don't pull its tail. You don't drag by its tail. You don't drag by one arm. Like, she knew that Kiki was to be carried like a like a person. And so in spite of that, Kiki was big. And so like, arms dangling, tail hanging, obviously not a real animal, right? So she's carrying Kiki in the bank and everywhere she's going at, 14 months old, 18 months old. And people would say, is that a real cat? And I'd be like, yeah, because I let my kid carry a dead cat around, right? So anyways, Kiki was a permanent fixture in our life her entire life. She's 25 now, and Kiki lives with her now in her apartment. But I can't tell you how many times Kiki went everywhere. Only when she got into kindergarten did she not bring it into the classroom with her, and it was like really devastating to her. But she would go to school with her in the book bag. Well, we had a big bag for Kiki. And Kiki lived on through the years, and I can't tell you how many times we had to turn around and go back to the park, back to a restaurant. And one time we're on a road trip through South Carolina. We're driving all the way from New York State all the way down to South Carolina. We stop at some steakhouse, and there was a big, what do you call it when you get on the bull? And yeah, I don't know, one of those Bronco things in a Western steakhouse that you can like put your money in a bucking Bronco thing. And so, we were all sitting there waiting to eat and whatever. I don't know what happens, but Kiki either gets left in the booth or left in the waiting area. I don't know, because she would get like distracted by people and forget about Kiki. So yeah, we get about an hour past the restaurant down 95, and all of a sudden Naomi goes, "Where's Kiki?" And I'm like, "Oh, you gotta be kidding me." Not again. Oh man, we drove back to that restaurant. We were on a deadline too to get to where we had to get to. It's a long drive from here to there, and 18 hours in 2 days can be pretty brutal. And so, yeah, we drove back to the steakhouse. We got in there, and Kiki was sitting up perched on top of that Bronco thing. I will never forget. Kiki went to all of her dance recitals. Kiki had a chair in every dance recital. Kiki was a permanent fixture in her life. When she was, I want to say like 12, she got lice because she was taking riding lessons, and she was sharing a helmet or something like that with somebody. Yeah, is that what it's called? I don't know. Anyways, and apparently that's where it came from, and then that was a battle for us to deal with. And then we had to wash Kiki, and she was so mad at us because Kiki, she still tells me to this day, Kiki never smelled the same. And I'm like, sorry, kid. When she was little, I was able to wash Kiki and stuff her a few times. There was one time she threw up on her, etc., and I took care of that. One time she was getting really flimsy, and so like I washed her, I opened her up, I restuffed her, and she, I don't know, I think she was like 4 at that time. Kiki was already getting really worn by then. She would sit in her crib at like 1.5 years old and not scream and wake me up, but like pick through Kiki's fur until the thing was threadbare. The fur went from being this long to being the mesh that holds it on there is most of the animal at this point. The most well-loved animal I've ever seen in my life, and I'm not even kidding. There's lots of Kiki that's not there. Yeah, so anyways, when she was about 4 and Kiki still had some hair, oh man, I think about that poor cat. So anyways, Kiki still had some hair. I washed it. I stuffed it overnight. I took it after she was asleep because she did not go to sleep without this cat, like until high school. So anyways, I washed it. I stuffed it some just to give it a little bit more life. And when she woke up in the morning and she found Kiki there, she said, "I told you Kiki was real." And I was like, I really, like we had to treat the cat like it was real. It was really real. People have imaginary friends. She had an imaginary cat that was real. And even to this day, I probably should, wouldn't carry her not carefully. And I was like, wow, what made you think that? And she was like, she grew. She was such a baby when she got her initially. She didn't remember how fluffy and fat she was. And I was like, wow, I can't argue with that. And it probably cemented in her mind because after that, Kiki was real. That's why we didn't leave her at the steakhouse or anywhere else for that matter. That's why she had her own seat at all the dance recitals. That's why she would go to the dance recital. She had to dress up and have a tutu and a bow and all the stuff. Kiki always had to look beautiful. If Kiki went to a wedding, Kiki dressed. So I don't know. My daughter's little stuffed, not little, big stuffed cat was such a fixture in our life. It's honestly one of the cutest stories that I know of any child. And unfortunately, her dad and I got divorced, and I'm sure Kiki was a big help to her during those times. So I'm glad she had her. So you can see the color shift isn't huge, but the paint does shift color somewhat when it dries. But when I pull the tape, you'll get to see this jump from like purple into like a more indigo. And that's just kind of what I'm looking to do. So if you're with me, I appreciate you. I thank you for being here. And I hope that you're enjoying your day. I'd love to know what you're up to or where you're from. That would be cool. If you're an artist, I'd love to follow you. I don't know how to find out who's attending my live streams, and I don't know how to find out where they're from. On TikTok, it like posts the people's names so that you can find out, and then you can go back and you can see who attended. So I don't know if YouTube does that. All right, so far I'm doing pretty good without getting the paint on my hands. That was my big beef about the fact that I'd wrapped this, but I really think if I just hold it. So see, I started taking notes on this at one point, and then I gave up. But at least I know the date it started. So this one, embarrassingly, was started in August of 2024. It doesn't have a ton of layers. I think this one got forgotten about because it's so tiny. I think I tacked it up somewhere and then forgot about it. So I have so many of these going that I sometimes I just don't work on one for a while. And it doesn't really matter because then at least they're all a little different with the application of paint. So I usually have a couple of each type going though. Like I have a couple of these going, for example. I have several of those. And then I have several of these going. And they're all like slightly different, you know. See like that one back there. So I haven't done a ton of these. This method with the tape and the very thick, like multi-layer paint is paint heavy. So I tend to do a lot of these mark making ones because I can get by with using so little paint. And this just takes tons and tons, but I mixed up way too much for that painting back there. I was trying to tweak the color and and I tweaked it one way and then I tweaked it the other way. It was too dark, so then I made it too light, so then I made it too dark. I needed to like maybe cut it in half and do it that way. I was just so excited to be at the last color finally that I wasn't thinking clearly, which is a problem I have on occasion. Okay, it's a problem I have on a regular basis. Like I was saying, you know, getting dropped on your head when you're a little kid doesn't help. All right, one more space, and then I can probably get that double coated. It's not the most interesting thing to watch. I feel bad that you're having to watch me do the boringest parts because usually the mark making is pretty energetic. So I'm almost to that point. In fact, I think what I'll do is let these dry up and set up just a little bit more and open up the palette box and dig into that some. This is going to be sloppy and messy, so let me get it set over here. There we go. Oh, I did get a little bit. See, I can't escape it. That was the best I think I've ever done with painting around the edges of the whole thing and only got that little tiny bit. Not bad. Not bad at all. All right. I'm going to move on to doing some of these other ones. This one is going to get a full coat of purple, of this heavy purple. I guess I could do that. Man, that's a lot of purple. When I said that's what I was going to do with this one, I didn't think about what a fat brush I would want to do that with. Maybe this one here. Yeah, I think so. So yeah, I'm curious to know if I want to do some mark making or if I want to, because some of this is going to get sloppy if I do that. So yeah, maybe we'll paint this first. So I'm going to also open this up. Look at this. Mike's joke is that his mom dropped him on his head, but he was 30 years old. Oh, that's funny. It is funny. But I was dropped on my head due to other unfortunate circumstances. Oh, we got a messy palette box. We're losing paint. It's really just water, but it's kind of a lot. It's a lot compared to what I'm used to. All right. Well, you can tell Mike that I think that's a dang good joke. That's what you can tell him. Yeah, all of these that I pulled to the table are ones that like need stuff. I do want to actually soak that because we're going to go onto the big brush after this. I really love this invention that we came up with. So I took a glue gun and a toilet paper roll, and I made like designs with the glue on the outside of the toilet paper roll. And then my husband, who is a painter, went and got me a mini roller and like a cover, and I slid that on there. So not only do I have, like, look at that. Isn't that lovely? I'm thinking lots of options for this, for patterns and stuff, you know? All right, so I've got to like get the paint put out in such a consistency that it will like go on my little roller and still hit the canvas, which this canvas is floppy. This one needs a spritz too. I find that if I spritz my canvas on the back, if it's floppy, it will like tighten up sometimes almost immediately. It's actually pretty surprising. That one, I don't know. It's still kind of, I might have to dry up. I might have to completely soak it with like hot water and then put it in front of the space heater, and then it won't be floppy. And it's not like you can tell when you hang it up, but it's just like, it responds better when it's not floppy. All right, so pull out some of this paint here. And I want to spritz it with a little water so that I can get it a little bit thinner consistency. I have like different foods or drinks that I think of like when I'm talking about paint consistency, when I'm describing it to people. And I talk about like acrylic paint being like ricotta texture, not ricotta texture, but ricotta like consistency, I guess. I eat a lot of ricotta. And then I will thin it out to being like what I would call like heavy whipping cream or half and half or milk. And so it just depends upon what I'm teaching or what I'm working in. When I'm doing watercolors, I will often use like the whole milk, half and half, and skim milk analogies or whatever, so that people can kind of get an idea of how pigment dense they want to make their little, you know, mashup of pigment on their palette. All right, so we created this last night, my husband and myself, and I like it. I probably should have hit the edge a little better, but that's okay. So that works really great. I mean, it's interesting. I'm not hitting like every single spot. So obviously it's some areas aren't perfectly level because it's glue coming out of a hot glue gun. But I dig that kind of irregularity about it though. So, and it's just making another range of marks. This one is probably ready for another layer of tape as well. And if you're wondering what I'm doing with this one, I'm wondering what I'm doing with it too. It's got, believe it or not, it's got an octopus in there. I just have it covered with all kinds of stuff and tape, and at some point all the tape is going to come off, and hopefully this is the plan, reveal the octopus underneath. I don't know, that's the plan. So yeah, that's cool. I just trying to see if I got the marks everywhere I wanted them to be. I kind of didn't hit that, but this tape is so old. This octopus is begging for me to finish it. Yeah, it started in 2018. So this one is like, please, for the love of all that is good, please finish me. I also have these other large ones I want to work on. So I've got a couple different things I want to do here. This one is a maybe. We don't know. William, you'll have to give me your opinion and tell me if you think that that one needs more or less. So it looks kind of cool on the screen. This one needs acrylic pen. This one is not sure what I'm going to be doing with it. I've got to think about that. Well, if it's just you, William, I don't know. If I could tell who it was, then I might take a bathroom break, but I can't tell who's on. So I don't know if you're on or if it's somebody else. That is a little bit weird. Maybe I need to do some research and how that works to see if I can see who the people are. I don't know why it doesn't let me. Top fans. Well, of course, William is my #1 top fan. That's because he's amazing. I don't think I want to go more than like 2 hours, but we're only 1 hour in. So this one is going to get some water and some paint. This one's going to a little marker, or not marker, acrylic paint pen, and then some paint. So I'm going to spritz this one with some water. And this one just gets like a sloppy application of paint, basically. So I'm going to grab this one. I have to use the big one anyway, so I might as well get that one going. Oh, you're still here. Okay. So I'm going to assume if I am down to only one person, then it's you. I want to move these though, because I don't like getting splashes on these. That they're supposed to be so pristine so I can get that effect. So I am going to move this out of the way. All right. So a little droopy drops on these. I have to move my notebook or it's going to get covered in purple paint. I like this. I love this color though. This is working for me. Yeah, it adds like some depth. It's very muted. So I want it to get like a little bit more depth to it. And I don't really care that it's hitting the water in spots and like the bare canvas and others, because I want the color to be, whoops, I am splashing paint everywhere. That one doesn't really matter. Okay. So that one, I think maybe that's enough for that particular layer. I think we'll let that one set up. Oh, I forgot I have paint on here too. I gotta clean that up. I like glass palettes, and I found this big, huge plate for free on the side of the road. And I thought, oh, that'll be really cool. So then I was teaching my husband the other day how to paint, and I was like, oh, well, I don't have another one of these. I got this at an auction. Best thing I ever bought in my life. This palette is my best friend. But I was like, well, here's this big, beautiful glass plate. That'll work great. Well, then he was like, yeah, it kind of does. But then you've got this like edge and it like shoves all the paint down into there. So I'm trying to look at these and see if I had used this color on them or not. I can't tell. I think I did. So I do need to clean this one off too, though. Actually, maybe I'll just set this on top of here. There we go. That works. I have a lot of cleanup work to do today. I can't just stand and work on the marker work because all of these are everywhere, kind of making me crazy. So this needs a tape application, and this needs marker, and this needs a layer of paint. Okay. If I'm going to be doing tape, I just want to cover that for a minute so that it doesn't go yucky on me. And let me grab my wide tape. I've got this stuff right here that should do the job. And I'm going to tape over the areas that I've already painted and leave these areas exposed, basically. And the trick is getting my tape angled the right way, which I never seem to remember how to do, but Nope, that wasn't good enough. I probably need to grab my little scissors here. My dollar store scissors. I don't like to waste good scissors cutting tape, so I just buy dollar store ones because they do the job. So I'm just going to cover over that right there so that I won't get the subsequent layers that I put down on the other areas. I should have thrown that in the garbage. All right, I think I had tape in my hand. All right, so now let's see. I want this one to go like that, so it needs to be angled that way. Okay, I have to think about which way to angle it. There we go. Perfect. Now I'm just going to fill in the little bit that's left over with some other pieces. There we go. Almost perfect. It's a little narrow, but it'll do. It'll do. Now I've got a nice pointy point here for this one already ready to go. But I have to think about it. If I cut it that way, will that work? Now I can't remember which way I have to cut it to make it pop into the corner. I'm hoping it's this way. It is. I always forget. Wait, is that the right way or not? Oh, I missed a piece of tape on the previous layer when I ripped it off. Goodbye. All right. Apparently, if I just cut it parallel to the bottom of the canvas, it does what it needs to do. So that's what I need to remember. All right. It seems like I can't quite get it wide enough, but that's pretty close. Okay. There we go. So that one is covered. I'm half tempted, I think, to add layers to this. I don't know. Is it done? Is it not? It's so hard to know. Decisions. I got to think about that. Yeah, the one on that side. I think my intuition is telling me to put tape on them. So, I don't know. I got to think about it for a minute. I get nervous to do things. Wow. Oh, I do know what one thing I wanted to do was put tape on this so that it cuts through the black and then seal the black and then cover this in the purple, I think. I'm sorry. I guess when I have so many going, I can't remember what I'm doing. Especially if I step out of the studio for any length of time. That's a lot of tape. I don't want to waste all of that. I'm going to just do it over the black sections, actually. And I'll seal it with some black. Because I don't even know. Let's actually use 2 different sizes for each section here. I'll use that one, and then I'll do this one. I have a whole bunch of different size tapes in a little thing on the side of my table here. I love painter's tape. The one that I have that's like this wide is the most fun. It's for like a mural, I guess. All right, so I'm going to put these 2 here, I think. I'm going to seal that with black tape. Then I think I'm going to do the whole thing over in the purple, which is kind of crazy, but yeah, that's what I'm doing. That's what I think. I don't know. I'm going to start with the black, which I just have to, I don't know where it's at. It's in here. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, the black is one that I have, I think, a big, yeah. Wow, it's kind of back there. When I said I had everything ready, I forgot about wanting to cover that with black. So let me just grab that pot of paint. All right. I got a lot of it, so black is a good color for this. I could do the whole thing in black, actually. That could be a thing, too. Why didn't I just do the whole thing in black? I'm sorry. I'm just trying to think out loud, and I'm not good at it. I really wish I knew what I was doing with this painting. I have no idea. All right. As dumb as that is, I have no clue what I was doing. All right. I'm going to just break a rule of my own, and paint right out of the tub because I only need to seal these two edges. And I'm just going to put the paint on there pretty thick so that I don't have to do 2 coats to seal it. And then this one, I'm going to take that dark purple that I just put on that one, and I'm going to cover this with it, and then I'm going to cover this white canvas with it. So there's going to be a lot of purple paint going out right now. But I made a ton of it, so let's see how far I can get it to go. All right. I think that's enough. I think that's enough of that. Whoa. Gotta make sure I close it well. It would be a sad, sad day if one of these was left cracked open and all of that money went down the drain. All right, that's gonna dry up. That's drying up. Everything's drying up right now. We made those marks, Oh, this needs an application of acrylic paint pen. Yeah, there's like so many going at the same time. I know. I hope it's not overwhelming. It's a little bit overwhelming to me. Now with this one, I know I was like tracing the tape with the paint pen, but was I going to use the same one the whole time, or was I going to switch up the colors? I think I was going to switch them up. Question is do I have any colors left? I let people borrow these for an event, and people were pretty good with them, but they took a little bit of a beating. So yeah, it's hard. You know, in the future, I think if I host events or classes or whatever, people either need to bring their own materials or the venue needs to supply them, because I end up taking a beating every time. So all I'm doing here with this is I'm like doing a different version of sealing the tape by using an acrylic pen. And I know it's going to create some bleed under the marker, but I don't really care because I'm just looking for that straight line that I'm getting, basically. So basically like that. And I know I'm kind of far away. It's not very interesting. I don't know how to make my boring process of making art any more interesting than I am, unfortunately. But I can get a little closer. There we go. So I think what I'll do is I'll like go over I think we'll overlap lines. All right. I see what I was maybe thinking with this one. I'm glad I pulled out this pile and decided to get working on them, because there's something incredibly like satisfying about each one indicating to me what it needs to have done without me having to, I don't know. I am obviously it's coming out of me and making a decision, and I'm making the decision. But for me, it's like the painting is telling me what it wants, and I'm not having to make those decisions. So it's a little bit avoidant, I guess. It's my escape to let the painting tell me what it wants instead of me trying to tell the painting what it's supposed to be. Because that gets stressful, especially if you've done it for years. I think that's probably why a lot of artists get into maybe non-representational art, because it's like, it can be just exhausting to try to create like such highly representational art that is taken seriously. I remember when I first showed my professor back a couple years back when I got back into taking art classes again at a college,
when I was going for my master's, he saw like my non-representational, like relaxing doodle marks and things in my sketchbook, and he was like, that's what you should be doing. That's what you should be doing. That's art. That's art. And I was like, really? It's just my sketchbook. I'm just doodling. Oh, I see my like shirt is like weird. Sorry about that. And at first I was like laughing at, but like this guy was from New York City actually. He would commute to Albany each week to teach from Tuesdays to Thursdays, and so I had the luxury of having him as an instructor, and I listened to every single thing he told me, and I did it. And it made a big difference in the art that I had been making kind of the first 20 years versus the last 10. There's a huge difference because of Frank. Yes, Frank, you heavily influenced me. And there was a lot of heavy influence in my work, from like traditional masters that I never met in person to people that I thought were fantastic artists in and of their own right, but oftentimes teaching in universities because they wanted an outlet for their work, they needed the money, like whatever. Yeah, I felt like I was cheating basically by making art like that because, I'm capable of making representational art. And then when people see me making non-representational art, they feel like, well, why would you do that when you can do that? And I'm like, because this is fun. That's why. Because this is fun. So and maybe it's not fair. Maybe it's not fair to be an artist and to get to do fun things during the day. But, then I encourage you to find something that you find fun in life and do it as much as you can. We love to kayak. My husband and I love to kayak, and we love to, whoops, I didn't pull that good. And we love to hike and stuff, but I love kayaking, especially hiking. It is hot and sweaty at times and whatever, uncomfortable, tiring. I don't hate it. It's just, I prefer kayaking and like doing day trips and road trips and things like that. But like, we just try to do that as much as we can when we're able to, because we love it, It's just fun. It doesn't need to be like financially productive. It's just mentally productive, psychologically productive. And if there's anything I learned from my mental health journey as, a mental health like technician for so many years, getting that degree, I learned that you need to do what feeds your soul. I do like these acrylic pens. I haven't given them much attention before now. So I had them and I thought it would be a good idea to start putting them to use. And I know a lot of people write on paper with them, but I've been using them to do some of the abstracts and like use them as like edging and like additional details, just kind of whatever comes to mind in the moment, I guess. And you do have to, like, on the canvas especially, I feel like, make sure you get good coverage. So sorry, I've got to stick my head down in there because I'm blind and I can't see, and I want to make sure I've got nice opaque lines so that they kind of stand out, And this one is one that I'm wrapping around. I don't know why I don't just paint the edges solid more, but I do think it looks neat when the image wraps around the edge. So I can't figure out how to hold this, but I need so that I can do it. There we go. And this piece is starting to annoy me because it wants to flip up on me constantly. Half the time I have a hard time even ripping the tape off because as it moves around and stuff, I'll start taping the back so that it will hold all of it, and I'll tape like a tape around the edge and stuff. And so when I go to get all the tape off, it's like so encapsulated in frog tape that has been there at times for years or months at least. And I feel like I'm birthing something basically. It's like unwrapping a Christmas present.
All right. All right. And then this is going to wrap around this way. This will wrap right around the corner. That's kind of cool. I don't know if I've really had an image do that. That's kind of neat. I'll take it. There's another piece wanting to pop up. Once I finish this, this will be ready for the next mark, which is really fun because my husband and I created like a homemade mark making tool with this right here, which I used a glue gun on a toilet paper roll and then we put it on a paint roller, and it makes these cool marks. I'm so excited, and it gets my brain going. I'm thinking like, wait a minute, so that worked pretty well, so why not make more that have different things going on? So that's the goal. I really think that's a fun way to make marks. It'd be fun to do like wrapping paper or whatever, you know. And I like how it's a glue gun, so like the shapes, you can see where the paint got pretty much good coverage on the raised up areas, but there's little spots where maybe the glue was like down some, and I like that. It's like it looks very organic. It doesn't look like, you know, machine printed basically. And I think that's like an advantage that artists will have. You know, I think artists get nervous about like the advent of the future of AI and all that sort of thing. And I'm like, listen, make sure you have the artist's hand in everything you do. And it will be very, very hard, at least for now. And I would imagine for a while, for AI to mimic human frailty, essentially, you know, where the artist's hand is apparent, where you have like the shakiness or the, you know, whatever come through in your work. The mistakes, essentially, you know, that's what makes human art so good. That's what makes the human face so beautiful. To me, anyways. I don't do portraits, but I do think the human face is beautiful, and I like it in its raw form. I don't like it with, you know, I don't like it all made up. Oh, tell me I took the lid off of this and don't know where I put it. Could be in my pocket. There's chapstick. If you see the lid, let me know. What did I do with it? It's clearly not that end. Did I drop it? It did drop. Man, when I talk about that short-term memory, there's another thing I'm really talented at, which is like losing stuff. Back in the day, I got to turn down my space heater. Back in the day, my husband had a job where he worked on the road Monday through Friday. So he would leave Monday mornings and then he would come home Friday night. So he worked in the region. We live in, you know, the New England area. Technically, New York State isn't a part of New England for some reason. We're not cool enough. I don't know. But anyways, we lived in the New England area, and he would be working in Rhode Island and Connecticut and Maine and all these places. And so I had an interesting work schedule. And so sometimes I would go visit him during the week. And one time I showed up and he handed me the hotel key, like out in the parking lot. Like he came out to the parking lot to meet me and he handed me the hotel key. And I literally got out of the car and was gone. It was gone. Like I hadn't even done anything. I hadn't gotten my bag. I hadn't picked up my purse. I hadn't done anything. And it was just gone. And we still, to this day, laugh about it because it never did show up. He handed it to me as I was seated in my car. And then I stood up and I was like, where did it go? And we literally scoured the entirety of that car and we never, ever discovered what happened. It was crazy. So, all right. So I'm looking at my friend Dorian here from Hurricane Dorian, and I'm starting to feel like it could also use like more tape work. So it could be boring for you to watch, but that's what I want to add more layers to this, because eventually Dorian needs to sort of like disappear from our line of vision here. So the question is, do I stick with the thin tape and keep trying to curve it? It does take forever and it's kind of finicky, but I'm thinking that we don't have to be as precious now because I'm on the inside of the form. So I think I'm just gonna, yeah, kind of like that. The goal is not to necessarily completely worry about perfection. And over time, then I'm hoping, this is the hope, that over time, the octopus, once I pull all the tape off, that it'll get built up and built up. Put my chapstick back in my pocket. And over time, I've just created enough layers that it will reveal as an octopus when I'm done. That's the goal, is a big octopus reveal. Now, whether or not that actually happens is another story entirely. But I'm pretty confident that this will happen. So I'm also pretty confident that I can get this tape down a lot faster than the first few times that I did it. Man, when I first put the tape on here, it was a nightmare. It was like so hard to curve it around. But now that I'm on the inside of it, it's a lot easier and goes a lot quicker. So yeah, it's like the tape itself is almost a part of my paint arsenal, my paintbrush arsenal. I use a ton of painter's tape because when I discovered it, when I started helping my husband with his refinishing company, I was just amazed at the versatility of it. And so it's like some people like start playing around with plaster or whatever. You know, for me, it was painter's tape. Let's see this one. Although plaster is really fun too. Sometimes I think about working. I got to turn it. Sometimes I think about doing some like sculptural, like not sculpture. Well, I did a lot of sculpture when I was in college, but sometimes I think about doing like sculptural, like raised off of maybe a wood surface with plaster. I did work with him with plaster quite a bit. We did plaster repair and stuff, and I really liked the effects that you can get with it. It's a neat medium. It's very responsive. I think that's why people enjoy working with clay, because clay is so responsive. I'm hoping that you can hear my music, friends. I've got some nice bossa nova vibes going in the background. If it's too loud or too quiet, please feel free to let me know in the comments. Probably sounded funny because I'm alone in air elevator shaft with the door closed. Oh, yes, the room key. Fun times, man. It is nice to have you home every day, so I always appreciate that. I'm trying to at least get one stripe on each of its 8 tentacles, which you can't see probably. Oh, I gotta turn it again. You might not be able to see where you're at, but when I hold it up after I do this, you probably will start to get an idea of them. So just bear with me here. This is stuff I would never think to live stream in the past, and so I wouldn't, because I would be like, well, who in their right mind would want to watch this? But maybe I'm not as boring as I think, or maybe this isn't as boring as I think. I don't know. All right, 1, 2, 3, 4. So, well, some of them I'm doing inside and outside, so I don't know. Yeah, on this one I'm going to grab the other side of his head, and his head can start to take some shape here. And I probably want to do a couple in there because it's such a big area that I need to actually get more than one piece down. Oop. All right, perfect. Yeah, this ended up being like 2 pieces kind of inside of the same one. So I'm hoping the coverage of the octopus goes faster now, basically. So like it's starting to get octopusy, right? All right, we're getting there. We're getting there. This one I'm also going to do the outside perimeter. I'm still going to leave some areas exposed though, for now. For now. That will change soon. And then I'll just be filling in the background with a whole array of marks.
and then he'll be done. I'm hoping. This has been a long time in the making, this dang painting. Oh man, if the tape doesn't want to flex for me, then I got to turn around. Especially when I'm making it go in more than one direction, then it gets like grumpy. There we go. There we go. Yeah, I am bound to determine that this one is getting finished, not just sometime in 2026, but sometime in the near future, I'm hoping. But definitely this year. This one's going to get enough paint that come hell or high water, it's going to be done. Oh, it looks like we lost a little piece of tape right here, so I need to put that back on there. And, oh, I wanted to get the top part of the leg here, or leg, tentacle, I guess, sorry. It's not a leg. I probably will have to turn it because I'm realizing as I'm doing this more and more here that when the curve comes out towards me, that I need to have the curve, like have it pointed towards me, not away from me. It's definitely making it easier. The tape is still wanting to be a little bit particular though. Seems to help if I pull some of it out in advance. That makes sense. Give it a little bit of slack, I guess. There we go. There we go. Now I'm going to go up the side here. And I'm hoping that at some point here, this tape will actually become fat enough to fill in the bottom. Oh, it looks like it will already. That's fabulous. All right. Fabulous. Let's see. I'm going to wrap that around. All right, and then, okay, so I've got maybe down these two, and then maybe like another piece going through here. So I think what I'll do is maybe like this, up alongside this piece here, and I'll just make that little piece there a little bit wider. And then, all right, so see, we're almost at feeling like we got an octopus going. We're almost there. So close. And then maybe I'll do like, just to have an extra one down up here where there's a lot of space. Like I'll curve it around this way and have it join up to this here. Because it resolves easily that way. There we go. Now I just want to get some down here and here, and I think that will do it for this layer of tape. So I kind of squished the end there. All right. Oh, I got a curve. There we go. I'm kind of glad about that because that piece wants to keep popping up. So I'm happy to have like another piece holding it down now. Pull some of that slack out like I was saying. That definitely helps. All right, here we go. Here we go. This is going a lot better than I thought it would. And I remember the first few layers were bad. They were so hard to get down. This tape is just maybe a better tape too. I had really crappy tape down initially, so kind of embarrassed to say. Now I have much nicer tape. I don't know what that other tape was, but it wasn't good tape. Good tape though, I'll tell you. It's worth it to have good tape. So nowadays I get good tape. You can't get like off-brand painter's tape. It's not good. It doesn't work. So I try to buy a good brand. And I use a lot of cheap stuff or recycled or, you know, reused stuff in my studio or found objects or whatever, but tape and paint and brushes I think are really non-negotiable.
There we go. So it's kind of looking messy, but there's parts you can't see. It's got a lot of layers going on. So that's kind of what that looks like. This one wants to have some marks made on it, so I do want to get that. I've got my palette knife. These I do a lot with my palette knife. So I just basically, if you saw me earlier, I put the tape on the areas that I'd already painted. And so now I'm using my palette knife as like a mark making tool, basically. And I'm just going to keep all my marks, you know, sort of random and, you know, spaced, whatever looks right to me, I guess. I try to get some of the paint like in the middle, and I try to get some of it at the edges. So and just keep it varied. Let me move that out of the way. And I'll often flip it around just because sometimes I might have my marks like then accidentally be leaning to one way or another. If I get enough of them on there, then it can be kind of, they can look crooked, I guess. There we go. This one's good. I don't need a ton of, you know, marks. I don't, again, I put like 50 different layers of paint on here, and I just use up whatever's left over from the big paintings to do it. So I'm not looking to really cover the canvas. I'm just looking to give it a little bit of, you know, the first layer down is going to be this nice rich purple, and I'll try to like even get some marks that are heavier and some that are lighter. And once I feel pretty good about it, then I will set it off to dry. So that one is ready to dry. And I'm ready to grab some of these bigger ones that I have going, like this one here. And this one will just take, you know, a little bit more of my energy here to get enough down on the whole thing. But basically the same idea. So that one I've taped off. This one I've taped off like sections. And in this one, I've like taped off stripes and stuff and done different layers and put tape down and pulled tape up. So I just kind of go back and forth, applying paint, applying tape, pulling tape. There's like a bar in there and it keeps annoying me because I keep hitting it and then my paint like wants to shift. But I just go back and forth, you know. I keep adding tape and adding tape and adding tape for a while until it feels like, you know, maybe there's too much or whatever. And then I'll pull it all and then maybe I'll minimally add it again. And I'll have like just a bunch of different layers of tape and paint and go back and forth sometimes. Sometimes the canvas gets a clean sweep and then I have to retape it like I just did with that one. So just depends upon what I'm doing and how I feel about the marks, whether or not I'm adding tape, pulling tape, adding marks, whatever. And I just go, you know, I just add enough until I feel like I like the piece enough to hang it on my wall, basically. So, and sometimes they happen quickly. Sometimes they just come together really quickly. And other times they're just years in the making, like the octopus that I was just messing with. Just because it didn't hit me right, like all this time. So then I started getting the idea of using like tape in a shape like an octopus, which is honestly kind of ambitious. Tape is generally meant to be in straight lines, not really in curves and stuff. So that's been a fun challenge. And it's also been a fun challenge that I'm combining not only a technique that I wouldn't normally use, but like trying to salvage what I feel is like a failure painting. So I like doing this because I don't really feel like any of my paintings are failures per se. I just feel like they aren't done being developed. Whereas I can paint like the duck, and that one needs a little bit more work, but you know, you can paint like something representational and feel like you failed. And I feel like these, you're not done working them. If they don't feel done, then they're just not, you know, then they need more work basically. So, and I just am patient enough to wait and let the painting, you know, like make its determination as to when it's done and what it needs. But I don't just do one from start to finish because
I just feel like that would be so I would have to mix up new paints every day. And I have like tons of these paints pre-mixed for these giant paintings. So then I just work with what I got. It's like, there's like a real wonderful organicness to it that is like, I'm not really having to make choices about what I'm doing, except for really what like in my gut feels right for application of the paint to the surface or the tapes. And even then it's like, well, if I mess it up, I can just do something different. So and I try to like get at least, and I could like make all the colors shift on one side or the other, but for this one at least, I'm trying to just make sure that I get kind of a good amount of even coverage. And then I want to remember that bar in the middle of the canvas because it makes me crazy. Oh my gosh. There we go. I've got some that I do these marks on. I've got some that I am using like the plastic on. I've got some that I fill in with the paint. And then I've got some that I do like this splattery effect with. So I'm going to get one of those. Here we go. This one's kind of big actually, for doing this technique, but I am really excited about this one because I am nearly out of canvas space at this point. So let me take this one and put it over here so it's not in the way. Move some of these things. So I have to have a big space because I make a big mess. My husband is like, yes, yes, you do. All right. I want to move this one because this one's supposed to be pristine, no splashes. The other ones, it doesn't really matter, but this one, it's got to stay pretty. So I don't want it nearby because I'm afraid it will get paint on it. The rest of them, it doesn't really matter. Okay. So I got my big fat brush here. And I just want to get my paint like a little bit more liquidy. Like I was saying earlier, the viscosity of it being like a half and half consistency, maybe heavy whipping cream. When I'm splattering it, sometimes I go, you know, as thin as like whole milk, but I still want the paint to show up. And if you have it too thin, then it doesn't show up. And if it's too thick, then I'm just like paint, which I don't really want. So what I'm trying to do is get it thin enough to splatter, thick enough to show up. And I don't have a lot of canvas left at this point in this one, but I want to get this really dark purple on here because I think it will add like some depth to it. So I certainly didn't want this one to go without a layer of purple. And I just put this tape on here. So apparently I was expecting to at least add several more colors because normally I wouldn't do that unless I was going to be adding, you know, a decent couple layers. That would just be a waste of painter's tape, and you don't want to do that. That good painter's tape is expensive, and to me in my studio, it's valuable. So I definitely obviously intended to put more layers. And because I have so many of these going, I can't keep notes on what I'm doing. I can't keep track of it. I just have to like, basically, if a painting didn't get worked on recently, like one of these just kind of went by the wayside or whatever, and I wasn't working on them days in and days out, or maybe this painting got slowed up and I just didn't get to have paint to put on these, I have to sort of hope that I understand where I was going the last time I was working on the piece and hope that it makes sense to me, because it doesn't always. This one here, it makes no sense. I have no idea what I was doing. I'm literally sitting here on the live stream earlier going, what was I thinking? I don't know. I have no idea. So it was either pull the tape off and start from scratch, or try to work with what I see as best as I can. And that's like a crapshoot at best, but I can't really mess it up because at the end of the day, the beauty of working on a canvas is you can just paint over it. So what kind of job can you have where that's the case? You don't like what you did, just paint over it. Even like other mediums, watercolors, pastels, that's not really the same. You don't have that luxury. So colored pencils, like what decision you make with a colored pencil, you've made it. That decision is made. I hope you appreciate what you did, you know? So I think that's why I like these a lot, because I've worked for so long in mediums that are so like what feels like rigid to me, the representational quality of them, the pressure of like getting it right or whatever, that I don't know. One day I had paint left over from working on a big painting, and I was like, you know what? I want to have fun with this paint. I have enough of it. I don't need it. I want to have fun with it. And so that's what I started doing. And I just did it for myself, but then I would show people these little abstracts that I thought were just silly. I called them my mini abstracts, and people were like responding to them. And I was like, what? Really? It's not my flower paintings. It's not, my pristine colored pencils. It's so, yeah, people just want to have fun, and they sense the fun that I'm having when I'm making these. And it takes me back to my days when I was taking a lot of printmaking. When I was getting my degree, my art degree, I took a lot of printmaking. And so to learn printmaking, it's better just to learn the technique and the process than try to be super representational. You're not going to come out looking like a Rembrandt right out of the starting gate. So I would just play around and doodle and make crazy images. And when I was doing mono printing, same idea. And people were really responding to my work. And I was like so flabbergasted because I had always been such a representational artist. So then I started to understand and appreciate individuals like Picasso, who people were like, oh, why would he do that? Anybody could do that. It's not real art or whatever. But when you study him and you see that he was really a skilled representational painter, and you start to realize, yeah, he painted for years and years and years. It was boring. It gets boring. I mean, maybe it works for you if you're, I don't want to criticize people, production painters like Thomas Kincaid or whatever other ones are out there. But I personally get bored easily. So for me, it helps me to balance the pressure of certain types of painting or teaching my watercolor classes or whatever by having this, like, what I call playtime. This is my jump in the mud puddle time. And if people like respond to it, then so be it. So then I have a diverse body of work that goes from the abstract to representational, because some is work and some is play, and they're both valid basically in my world. So, all right, a couple more colors on that, and there's going to be very little canvas left to cover with tape. So maybe I'll pull it and see what it does. I have one that I painted with black paint as a base coat, so that when I'm doing these hash marks like I do on these, that I wouldn't just have a white background canvas, or even like this, which I did like a colorful one. This I did just full on black, just to see what it would be like. So I'm going to add another layer with the palette knife to this one. See what we get. I really like how the colors pop off of this black. It is beautiful, honestly, to look at. I'm definitely a color addict. I'm not a minimalist. If you look at my house, my studio, both my husband and I, oh boy, that one kind of went awry. Both my husband and I are like maximalists, I guess they would be called. I don't know if I like that there. And I love color. There's nothing about color I don't love. All right, there we go. That one got a little wonky. I don't often correct the marks I make. I like the organic, like spontaneous, there's the word I want, spontaneous nature of them. But if one is like distracting because I was like, and I don't know, fainted on my piece, then I would fix it. If I was conscious, obviously. But if I wasn't, then, maybe not. Sometimes I can get more than one pass with a palette knife, but a lot of times I get like the one little mark, unless it's in the corners, and then that's it. And I have to refresh the palette knife. So there's like a lot of hitting this palette, which, if you don't know, is a glass palette that I got at it's not a glass palette. It was a glass tile that I got at an auction that somebody was like discarding. And I love it. It's my favorite thing in the world. I'd love to get another one. I wish I had two of them. But when you buy things at an auction, you get what you get. And it doesn't come with tags or labels or where it came from. Like, it's just a piece of glass that's white and thick and tempered and heavy duty, and works as a beautiful palette. And I wish I could get another one, but I have no idea where this one came from. It came somewhere from the universe. I have no idea. I'm adding these. I don't know if I love this part. I'm adding like these marks in the corner just because I like, I don't know. I did this whole thing with the tape, and then I wasn't sure that I liked how I had reserved the corners. I don't know. This one is definitely going to be pull the tape and see kind of thing. There's a lot of experimenting that I do with these pieces just to see. I don't know. Just because I want to see what happens. Like I said, this is my color lab here. Oh, pizza. Yes, that's right. We got these pizza crusts at Ocean State Job Lot, and they are these thin, like pre-made. They're so good. I wasn't taking it serious. I was like, oh, budget dinner though. Like this thing is a couple bucks. You get 2 of them. I'm like, you know, if you have any leftover marinara and a little cheese and whatever toppings you want, whatever veggies you have in your fridge, I'm like, this will be cool. Maybe it won't be that good, but well, we made the one, and I'm like, this is banging. I'm like, oh yeah. So I'm excited because we're gonna do the other one tonight. And I'm getting hungry thinking about it, because all I had today was a piece of Debbie's. My friend Debbie made me. Oh, what did she make? It was apple pumpkin streusel bread. Oh my gosh, it's so good. Ah, that's been my breakfast for the last many days. So I probably should have put, you know, more down my throat before coming to live stream than that. It was good, but that was like, I don't know, at 11:30 or 12 o'clock, and now I'm ready for something. I'm trying to get colors on each one of the sections that I have exposed, and I already have done the sections underneath these, so I feel like I'm about Steven here for how many marks under here and here. So maybe once this dries up, which could happen pretty quickly, I can pull the tape and get an idea of what this looks like. So that's an instance in which I'm going to have to pull all the tape and then make decisions after I see what it looks like. This one isn't one that I will add more tape to. At least I don't think so. Oh, and I think the other thing I did with this is underneath here, this is going to be black. There will be just straight up black exposed that will stay that way. I think that's the plan. Again, I don't know. I can't predict the future, but I can imagine what it might be like. Yeah, is it dinner time yet? I'm starving. All right, that looks pretty good. So this one can be set aside. I have to go off screen for a second, guys. Sorry. Because all of my paintings are in the other room, basically, waiting for me. All right, now I'm going to grab this one. This one is fun because I have this. Where'd it go? Really? Oh, here it is. This one is fun because I'm using this like squishy textural thing to make the marks. I think what I'm going to do before I continue on making marks with this one is add a layer of tape to it before I do that. So I think I'm going to go with the size. I use a really narrow one for the first couple. So now I'm going to use a really thick one, or not really thick, 1-inch one. This might be 7/8, but anyways. I think we'll cross like that maybe. Am I going around the edge on this? Did I paint the edge? Oh no, of course not. I didn't seal off the edge because why would I do that? All right. I let my husband do this last night for me in the live stream, which was fun because now I got to go with whatever he put down, and I got to like it or not. It is what it's going to be. By the way, I like the idea of the summer sausage on the pizza. I was actually thinking of that myself.
I know it's weird, but I don't like pepperoni really that much. So summer sausage is like more palatable to me and I can tolerate it better. I almost want to put one here, but then I've got all the thick lines on that side, so maybe here. Sometimes I like to double up the pieces next to each other, basically. I don't know if I want to do that this time, though. I think this time I don't. All right. We're gonna let all the pieces be independent of each other and not have them butt up against the previous pieces. All right. This one might be my most fun mark making tool. This one's my favorite one that my husband and I made last night with the glue gun and the toilet paper roll. It's my favorite one, but this one is by far the most fun one, right? It's a squishy, bouncy thing. How can it not be fun? Got to get my paint the right consistency. So we'll stick to this, come on here, but not be like globby. Ooh, look at that. Isn't that fun? I don't know if you could see. Not really, but it's right there. I can see it. So even if you can't, I can. And it makes such a fun look. Oh my gosh. I want to make sure I turn it though. It almost looks like a sea creature or something. A sea anemone. I want to make sure I cross over the tape too. If I just keep it confined inside the spaces, it doesn't have like a layered look, and I definitely want that. I forgot how much paint this takes up though, so I got to pull out some more from my plastic. It says I've been recording for 116 minutes. Have I really been doing this for 2 hours? Oh my goodness. Wow. So fun. Normally I would just be in here listening to other YouTubers. That's really what I was doing with my time mostly, was I would paint and make art and listen to other YouTubers. And then all of a sudden I was like, well, maybe I could be doing that, you know? It wouldn't be lives. I was like binging on people's different episodes that they put together for their life, sharing their life, but I wasn't watching artists really. Ooh, that one's kind of heavy, but that's good. Yeah, we'll make some rando heavy marks and then lighter ones, and then it'll be like layered because some of the marks will be dark, some of the marks will be light, and it will add like a little bit of depth to the piece by just having like that different level of texture and opacity, I guess is the word I'm trying to find, that I was struggling to say. And so it doesn't have like just a very uniform appearance, basically. And I try to get it off the edge of the canvas as well, which will help, you know, strengthen the composition. A little bit more here, perhaps. Not bad. I kind of dig that. Now, I know you can't see it really very well, but it looks cool on this end. And then I'll just throw that into the water bucket. I only have a couple of one or two of these going, so I think I have two, but the other one's in here. So I'm gonna drop this one on the floor and grab this one here, which is a textural one, and I'm excited because I have this new tool that we created, my husband and I. So we took a glue gun, we rolled a pattern on a toilet paper roll, we stuck it inside of a paint roller with a little floofy thing inside, and created our own little texture paint roller. The thing is so cool. I want to make like wrapping paper and stuff out of it. I think it's really neat. So a little bit more water, I think. A little bit more paint, I think. I'm almost running out of paint on this palette, so it's almost plastic time. All right, now that I've got like a good amount here, I can probably start to pick it up. Oh, that got inside there. All right. That is cool. I love that. And I'm still going to try to keep it like random like I would do the other ones. I'm not going to just like roll it like I roll a wall in a straight line, you know, up and down the canvas. I'm still going to be like, you know, pretty intentional with thinking about directional lines and all that sort of thing.
so that there's some randomness to it still. Because that random element for me is really probably the most important part. In fact, you know, you'd think as a person who likes to feel control in her life that this would be like scary to me, but there's like a little bit of release that happens when I don't have to be in control. You know what I mean? I get tired of being in control and I just want to let my hair down, but I don't have any. So then what I do is I make art. I think that's not bad. All right, that could be good. I think I like that. I have to like look for the sheen because it's hard to see the marks. Set that one off to dry. And now I have a spatter one that I'm working on that's kind of like this one, but bigger. Oh my gosh. This is the biggest one I've attempted, which is probably crazy. I think it probably needs more tape. And at this point, it's almost hard to see where the tape is because there's like layers of yellow tape under here and orange, and the paint has covered it so much that you can barely see it at this point. So what I think I'm going to do is add maybe one more layer. Yeah. And maybe I'll use the fattest tape that I've got. And that will help cover, you know, a good amount. It's pretty fat. I don't know. Because it can't hurt to try it, right? I think I already used the 1.5. This might be 2-inch tape. I'm not sure. But I've got plenty of spaces I can put it. In fact, what I might do is wrap the edge, which could be interesting. I don't know. I haven't done that before. Why not? Let's like create a frame with it. See what that does. Oh wow, it's not tape that wants to tear. I gotta get my dollar store scissors. My dollar store tape scissors. Okay, there we go. And I ruined the end. Okay. Yeah, that'd be interesting to create like an edge. This could backfire and I could hate this. I don't know. We'll have to see. There we go. I just had to angle it correct in order to get it to tear. Ooh. Sometimes the edges want to pop up and I have to like kind of like push them down with my fingernail. This one leaves like a little bit of canvas exposed here. That's kind of interesting. We'll see what that looks like. This reminds me of Fruity Pebbles. When I was a kid, that was like my favorite treat. Once in a blue moon, my parents would get us Fruity Pebbles. In fact, I was reminiscing about it recently, and my husband was so kind, and he brought me home some Fruity Pebbles, and he was like, oh, you were talking about how much you loved these as a kid, and I thought it would be fun for you to have them. And I was like, oh, that is so kind. And I tried them, and I was like, oh, these are terrible. Either they have changed, which it's possible. I'm 49, so it's possible that they're not the same as when I was 9. In fact, it's most very likely. But I remember thinking, this is the worst tasting thing ever. It's so chemically and so, it wasn't good. All right, so that's an interesting idea, is to border it off like that. The question is do I want to stop there? I don't know. Or do I want to put more like over the middle, you know? That's an interesting idea. There's always another layer, right? So maybe we'll just stick with this for now. And I can tear off some of these annoying bits that I have now that I have it sealed around the top, around the edge. So that's what I'm gonna do, because they get on here for so long and they get all old and like worn down, whatever, and they get caught up on things. They get annoying. So okay, that looks pretty secured. See how it gets messy on the back? Well, the tape. So yeah, and yeah, none of these have the dates on them. So I only recently started doing that. Was writing the dates on them, which I don't know why I didn't start before now, because some of them take forever and ever. All right. I don't want to spatter this stuff too much, so I'm trying to move stuff out of the way a little bit, because this might get a little messy. I feel like I'm like clearing the runway here. Okay. There's not much paint left, so this is probably a good one to at least wrap up this part of the painting session with. All right, here we go. See, I told you. Oh my goodness. Let's move that one out of the way too. This one is getting painted, so I guess it doesn't really matter. All right. I gotta have the paint sloppy enough to fly off the brush and yet heavy enough to change the color some. So it's like a balance. And I like these old fat brushes that I got years and years ago, because they're so nice. They come to a point for a long time. They work hard for you and they hold a ton of paint. They're so great for that. And even after they like stop coming to a point because I've just used them to death, they still are good at holding a lot of paint, and so they work great for this kind of stuff. I'm just trying to make sure I'm hitting the spots where I can see canvas exposed, which is becoming a little bit challenging at this point, but there are definitely spots that there's canvas exposed, and I just want to get the marks on those areas so that you can see the difference, you know, from the tape edge to the canvas. And it's random. It's not guaranteed, but my hope is that I get enough paint down in between each tape layer so that there's like a good layer of definition between each one, a good amount. And it takes patience and it takes time. At least the way I do it, because I work on all of them at the same time, adding the same color to each one, basically. And then they're all just a little bit different in their own way. And then I don't always add color to every single one every time. It just depends upon what paint I have out and how much of it I have and which ones I feel like, you know, might be the most benefited by a new color. So sometimes I can only get I only have enough paint left over to get half of them covered, you know, with some kind of layer. And other times I have more paint than I know what to do with, and I can literally cover a white canvas solid. So it just depends. But this is definitely probably my most fun that I have. Although it is very rewarding to like do the representational paintings. And it's very rewarding to teach like my watercolor technique to people, because generally speaking, people walk out of the class shocked at themselves and pleasantly surprised by what they've done. So I'm wanting to start doing lives more with the watercolors, because they're big and they're bold and they're beautiful, big flower compositions and such. And I think people would love them. They always do. I would say that's probably, if people were to like pick their favorite like work that I do, I would say that my big florals is probably what people respond to the most, which it's hard not to, you know. They're just so vibrant and they're so full of life, and it's, you know, flowers are recognizable, happy subject matter. So, and that's why I started painting them. But, you know, when I was talking about my college education earlier and how much professors influenced me, another professor that influenced me in my printmaking years, like I said, I was learning the technique. It wasn't about being super representational, but you have to do something on the surface. And so I had started off with what I knew best, which was roses, right? My first painting sold when I was 19, and it happened to be this big, beautiful black and white rose. And so that's what I was doing. And he was like, what is it with the roses? And he got mad at me, and he kind of like asked me to do something else. And so it was at that point that I realized that I could do anything really. So I still love my roses and any of the other flowers that I've painted, and I will be doing more of them and sharing more teaching and tutorials as far as watercolors are concerned, because that's what I always teach basically. Those are the classes I teach. But, you know, the ADHD and all that keep me from being able to just paint watercolors 24/7 because I find it just tiring. Representational work is tiring, especially if you've been doing it your whole life. So this is my mud puddle, you know? This is looking really, really, really good. I feel like there's not much paint left on it. So what I'm gonna wanna do is I'm gonna wanna take the plastic and put it on the few that I have that I'm using the plastic on, all right? This one, it looks pretty layered up, so we're gonna get rid of it. I want to grab, I see one more that I actually want to put the roller on because it's so light for application, and I think it would benefit. So I said I was out of paint. I'm not really out of it, but it's getting thin here. But I'm gonna see if I can get a little bit of these on here. This is so light that I think they'll show up pretty good. I don't know if I have enough paint in them on here to do it. So I could grab more honestly, but maybe I will. This is kind of giving me the effect I want though. So I do love this roller tool that I created. This thing is cool. It works great. Even if I don't have a lot of paint on the palette, I'm still getting like marks, which is kind of neat. So that's awesome. Yeah, I love this thing. This thing is great. Who knew? Making your own art tools. I mean, definitely the paint wants to get inside the toilet paper roll, but I'm guessing over time the acrylic will just create a seal over it and it will actually become like waterproof basically. So that's what my guess is. All right, now I believe what we're going to do is grab the ones that need plastic. That would be this one here. Whoops, I almost fell over. I ran into my bookcase. And what I do is I grab this like that, and then I pop it down on there like that, basically. And then it has to dry. It has to dry for like 24 hours, basically. So that one will get pushed aside for now. And I want to spritz this down, clean it up. It's kind of sloppy and messy and kind of making me a little bit triggered. So dump that in my water tub. It's not that I'm done with the purple paint. It's just that there's so much mess and it's kind of making me crazy. So I need to clean it up. And I have this little scraper tool that I use, and it works great on this glass palette. Then I have like a collection of paper towels that are getting beautifully tie-dyed by all of my paint water. And I don't know, I feel like one day I might do something with them too. So only time will tell what kind of creative craziness I will feel like attempting at some point. But something for sure. So a lot of times I'll just soak it up with a paper towel and then let that paper towel dry in its own little tie-dye fashion. And I keep like a jar of them behind me. Oh, that feels refreshing to me to get that cleaned off. It really does. And again, it's not that I'm done. It's that I am just, I get like overwhelmed with how sloppy it is. It's like being in your wet clothes for too long. I don't like it. And this can go hang out to dry somewhere. There There we go. All right. This one is going to get a coat of the purple. Questionable whether I need to really put that on the palette because I can just kind of do it directly out of the jar. And if I need a little bit of water, I can like spritz my canvas basically to add in the water that I need so that it's not like, so the paint's not so thick. And I'm just going to give this a first quick coat basically. That I can do other stuff on top of. All right, there's that edge. I'm going to try really hard to not get paint all over my body. Yeah, if I don't want to get my palette all grimy, I can just spritz a little bit of water on the canvas and it will spread out the paint for me a little bit better than if I was just using it directly out of the pot. It's so thick and I don't really need it that thick. Even if I put 2 coats, I don't like the paint to be thick and streaky. It's not like an oil to me where you need like texture or brush strokes or whatever. Maybe that comes from painting walls with my husband for so many years. But this little tiny brush, as I was saying before, how much like paint it holds, you see, this is just, well, this is so old I can't tell you what size it is. I'll have to look at the new one that I got, which is actually over here. It is a size 12 because I replaced it. It holds tons and tons and tons of water. It's just ridiculous. And tons of paint. And I can actually cover a whole surface and not need like a wide 3-inch brush to do it. Because the problem with that, you might be like, well, why would you use that tiny little brush on that big canvas? That's a really good question if you asked it, which if you didn't, it's fine. It's because when you use paint in a paintbrush, there's paint absorbed into the brush basically. And so I would lose a lot of paint if I did that. You end up washing a bunch of paint out of the brush. So there's a good reason why I want to use the largest paintbrush that I can reasonably to fill a space, but at the same time, I don't want to be wasteful, and I don't want to use like a 2-inch or 3-inch brush like you might use on a wall or to cut in a wall or something, because you've got a gallon of that paint to work with, or maybe several gallons, right? But on it with this, I've pre-mixed this and I don't want to run out of it quite at this point. So I actually will use a smaller brush because that's less paint that I'm using, but not so tiny that it would take me all day to do it. You know what I mean? So I love how the water helps this just to glide and get good coverage. I can still keep the paint, like I can thicken the paint right on the canvas by adding more paint to it if there's too much water on it. If it gets too watery. Don't want to forget my edge here. There we go. Lovely. The trick will be, can I paint this edge without getting it all over me? I tend to get a good amount of paint on me. I like to start my day with a bath because for me, it's like I don't drink coffee. I drink tea sometimes, but it's like my wake me up is my bath. I just run it real hot and just for a few minutes first thing in the morning. But I end up always taking a bath at night because the paint is always all over me. It's a good, now I'm used to it and I almost need it to go to sleep, you know. I hope I'm not missing your comments. The phone didn't seem to be 100%, this little device here didn't seem to be 100% caught up to you guys there, but, or not caught up, it seemed to miss some. So I hope that I didn't miss any. But anyways, if you're an artist and you are looking for a fellow creative to support your journey, definitely tell me who you are so that I can follow you and we can support each other if you post your work. And I just do a whole variety of work, in a whole variety of different mediums and with variety of subject matter, like everything. I've just done this for so many years that I've like gone from one thing to another, which I think is pretty common for artists that like make art their whole life. I think people get used to the Kate Mandigos and the Thomas Kincaids and think, well, you know, they only made one kind of artwork, you know, which some artists do that, but many, many don't do that. If you go to a retrospective of an artist, you're going to see that their art and their mediums and even what they represent and all that will change as they learn and grow and change as individuals. Like even music artists, they're famous for over time changing and, you know, doing different things. My husband likes to tell me a story about the Grateful Dead. They were doing a concert and some fan like up front in the front row was like mad because they were playing a new song and the person was like, oh, you need to play this, whatever, you know, whatever their favorite song was. And Jerry is like, listen, people, we got to play new songs. Like we got to write and play new songs. We can't just play all the old stuff. Unfortunately, that doesn't sell new albums. You know what I mean? And I'm not worried about selling new paintings, but you grow as an artist and you change and your work evolves. And I think that's like the beauty of being an artist is it's like really representational of just life in general. All right, this last edge, and that did not take that much paint. I'm actually pretty excited to say that. Pretty fun. Don't know what I'm going to do with this one yet, but I'm going to do something. Got to think about that for a minute. All right, let's set that one aside. And then the other one that I wanted to put a coat on was this one that I was like laughing at myself saying, I have no idea what I was doing here because I have no idea. I still am trying to figure it out. Still I'm trying to figure this one out. I'm going to put a little bit of water on there just to give my paint the ability to glide around a bit. And then I only actually have to paint in wherever the canvas is. Because there is tape on here in areas, so it's not, I'm not worried about those areas. Might have thinned that out a little too much because I'm not painting on a canvas, so it's not as thirsty, as my husband would like to say. A wall is thirsty when you put the paint on there, it sucks it up. But if you're painting on top of acrylic, it's just kind of rolls off the surface. All right, there's one of them. On to the next one. Yeah, I probably don't need it quite as wet. It was awfully a good spritz that I gave it. Because I'll definitely put 2 coats still, just so I have really good coverage. That glides on beautifully though. And that big, and this size, yeah, I can't talk. This size 12 brush works great for what I'm doing. Let's see. Is that a strip of canvas right there? It is. Okay, interesting. There's like a tiny little exposed strip here. I don't think I will need any water in. And it goes like all the way down to the edge here. Interesting. I'm super interested to know how this is going to look when I untape it, since I had no idea what I was doing when I started it. And then picked it up like years later. Should be very interesting. What I'm thinking though is since I have this layer down, what I can do now that I have paint and these colors, I don't even know where they went off to. So now that I have this paint color, I can basically, what am I trying to say? I can just kind of start from this point forward with more layers of tape. So that's the plan. At this point, I didn't know what the plan was then, but I know what it is now. Now that I have paint on it, I just needed to put paint on it, and then it would have told me what it needed, but I was scared. I was scared of it. That's what happens when you're scared of your paintings and they bully you. I'm going to put a tiny drop of water. Paint's a little thick. Oh, interesting. You know what I just realized? I messed up. This tape and this tape go into, oh dear me, that's on tape. I messed up something, so I have to fix something. Hang on. Where's my dollar store scissors? That's supposed to be there. Right, and this one messed up a little bit. I didn't cut the tape at the right spot. Well, this is how long I didn't touch this painting for. I forgot even what I was doing with it. But what I need to do, I taped where I need, and then I'm painting where I need to tape, and I'm taping where I need to paint. All right, does that work? I think so. Yes. Are we good? Is everybody happy? Crisis averted? Okay. There we go. Crisis averted. Taping in the wrong spot, painting in the wrong spot, making a big mess. Let's see. I play the piano a lot on Thursday nights, and I always end up going there with all this paint on me because it really doesn't come off until I get in the bath. So then I go play the piano with painted hands. Okay, there's a spot right there. And where else? I think I like messed it up where I pulled the tape. Oh, there it is. The spot I pulled the tape off of got messed up. That's already like drying too, so it's a good thing I caught that. Oh, this is what I was doing when I did discover the mess up. Was this. And where else is their canvas exposed? Oh, down here. Okay. I have to like keep turning my head to the side so I can see the weave of the canvas because man, it's tricky. With all the tape, it's hard to tell. The tape's got its own texture. Like once it starts to get painted on and stuff, it does its own wobbly texture too. So now I've got like the texture of the canvas and the texture of the tape, and I start to get lost trying to see what I'm looking at. All right, and then I got just a little bit down here. So a lot of this orange is getting covered, but it's got tape on it and sealed. So that tells me one thing. Even if I can't remember what I was doing, I do know one thing. There is tape, there's orange areas under here that will get preserved, even though I'm painting over some of them now. So that's, I'm just gonna have to like trust that I knew what I was thinking back when I was doing this. I have no idea. Just going on a whim here. And trying to like, also in 2026, it's a little wet or a little dry. In 2026, I'm also like wanting to make a goal of trying to just get through a whole bunch of my works in progress and not have such a big, huge pile of unfinished work in my studio because it's massive. If you think my crochet works in progress is embarrassing, man, you got to see my artwork in progress. It's way worse. There's nothing that is, I bet there's nobody out there that has the size of the works in progress that I have. Most people will do things start to finish, and I work on things like simultaneously, basically. So, all right. Oh, one more spot. I almost missed. I really think that's it. So there's decent sized pieces of canvas that are still exposed, which means there's a lot I can work with here. So I'm gonna seal this up. And what else? Oh, the other ones that I put the first coat on are ready for second coat. So why I'm closing this, I don't know, because I need more of it. I gotta get a drink of water. So this one, we did the first coat. Now that one you can't really see what's going on because it's going to end up like this one here. But I did the first coat, and I like a nice heavy coat, so I'm going to do 2 coats of that. And I might even just give that a little rain. Another one where I wrapped around the corner. What, am I crazy? There are times when I will be really good and tape off the edges and make them white and pristine or black. And then there are other times when I'm like, no, it would be more cool if I painted around the edge. And then I go pick up the piece down the road and I'm like, why? Why did I do that to myself? It does look cool when you're done, but it's such a pain when you're working on it. Especially when I'm doing it like this, when I'm covering like so much of it. The race car painting, I'm only going over the edge in like little sections basically. But in these, I have to do like the whole thing based from, you know, at least where there's no tape. And in the earlier stages, and even down the road, there's just so much that's not taped on the edge that you're touching. There's a lot of edge to cover. All right, I'm trying not to get lost where I have 1 coat and 2 coats because they start to get confusing. It just looks so much the same. And this is just kind of filling in, you know, any light or pale areas. So I'm just trying to get like a, just a coverage coat essentially. It kind of like evens out the blemishes. If you're a house painter, you know that you can't do any painting jobs with 1 coat. That's ridiculous. You got to do the 2 coats so that it has a little bit of depth and that white doesn't keep coming through, right? So yeah, this one's going to get a 2nd coat. And then what? Then the other one that's like this is also going to get a 2nd coat. That's this one. And then it's also going to get a purple layer at some point here in the near future. That's the goal. Sometimes these mini abstracts will take up a whole day of my life. And that's why they take so long, because I'm going to work on these the whole day. Then I'm going to finish up this painting. I'll start the next one. I'll create the next color. And these will just kind of sit and hang out waiting for me to have leftover paint to put on them until the next color. You know, they're all just a rolling thing. So, but they're really fun to do. And some of them are so pretty. All right, a little bit edge work here, and this one's probably done. And honestly, I'm looking at the time and I just can't believe for how long I've been doing this live stream for. I didn't know that I would be interesting enough for people to hang out and watch. So that's cool. So if you're here, I appreciate you. I really do. At some point, I probably got to take a break though. All right, that one's, I think, got a sufficient coat number 2 on it. I wasn't sure if I got that spot. So that is like totally sealed. So now it's got to get tape put on it once it's really dry. And then I'll seal the tape with the same color. And then I'll be able to go on to whatever next color I want. And this one only has a few colors on it, so it's got a lot of ways to go. This one here has more layers of tape, but it's got still a long ways to go as well. But I got to get a 2nd coat of that 1 color on here. So I'm almost wondering if, yeah, I'll switch up to this brush. Probably should have grabbed at least a 3rd bucket of water. So because I didn't know I would be like able to do this for this long and have the stamina for it. I was just trying to bring people into my work day. This is color number 9. Oh, that's over here. Color number 9. Oh. All right, coat 2, color 9 of this little guy. Oh, that brush this one is the baby sister of the one I was just using, but the bristles have gotten like pretty splayed out. So I'm excited to have a new one, but it's even hard to use it on these canvases. It's kind of dysfunctional at this point. This one I actually taped the edge. What do you know? Interesting. I never know what I'm going to do. I change it up just because I get bored with myself, so, and I try to make it interesting. I probably should give this guy a little spritz too. I don't usually paint out of the jars like this because then the paint will get all crusty on the edge unless I know that I'm going to be just doing it briefly. If I'm spending hours working on that, then that's why I use the glass palette that I've got under here, because then I can just keep my paint under plastic all day. So I don't just open the jar usually unless I'm just doing a quick little couple minute thing. So once this has the second coat, same idea as this one. They'll both have their second coat of the previous color, basically. I say basically a lot. I'm sorry about that. They'll both have a second coat of the previous color. And then I will put the tape on. I will seal the tape with the color. And at that point, I'll be able to move on to whatever the next color is supposed to be. Now for this one, it's actually going to be that color. For this one, it's going to be whatever the next color is going to be in the next painting that I'm doing, which we've already picked out the next large scale acrylic painting that my husband is actually going to collaborate with me together on, which we're really excited. We're going to be doing a collab painting together called The Artist's Hand. I gave him several options of subject matter. I had taken several photographs and made them black and white and changed them up so that we could work with their grayscale, and that's the one he chose. So I was surprised. I didn't actually expect him to pick that one. I would have expected him to pick, honestly, any of the other ones. We were let's see, the contenders were a rose, because I've actually never done one of these paintings as a rose, and I do a lot of rose paintings, a lot of flower paintings. So there was that one. Then there was a carousel, and that one is kind of like a nod to my mother, who is a carousel fanatic. And we had, let's see, there was us kayaking. There was like a kayak one. And then there was this picture of my hand doing artwork, and it just looks really cool. It has like a reflective surface, so there's like a reflection and stuff, and that's the one he chose. And it's funny, I had it already sort of in my mind as maybe a potential in the future, because I keep like a stack of maybe paintings, right? They're not paintings yet, but they might become so I like take references, or I take whatever pictures of my own, and I have this stack of maybe paintings. So I gave him like these 5 different options, and honestly, I would have thought he would have chosen that last. Like I would have thought that would have been his least favorite option, but he chose my hand doing the artwork. So I'm excited. We're going to call it The Artist's Hand. I'd had it set aside. I'd never even thought of what the title would be until he picked it just the other day as what we were going to collaborate on. And I'm like, I know the name of this painting finally. And it almost gave me like the permission to make the painting. So I was excited at the thought that I had the next one lined up, and I had the title, and then I'm going to be collaborating with my hubby on it. So I hope that you definitely consider following our journey together on our first large scale acrylic painting that we're actually doing together. So I can't wait for that. Also, that will like allow me to do more of the type of stuff that people really love watching me do. Like this stuff is cool, but people love watching me do watercolors. So that's the goal, is that in the next couple weeks or less even, I'm back to the large scale watercolors. And instead of teaching at like art centers or having people come to my house, I'm just going to teach here, and this is how I'm going to do it. So yeah, you can have free art lessons for me here instead of paying. People pay mad money for me to teach, and there's always a waiting list, but I hate doing it. It's like such a pain to get all my stuff together, drag it somewhere, spend the whole day in somebody else's workspace. So I'm like, wait a minute, I can just have my classroom right here. Yeah, that sounds like a plan. You know what I mean? So that's kind of where I'm at. Is this dry enough for coat too? All right, so the one that we just put this one coat on, I think it's dry enough for the second coat. This one's got the second coat. This one's getting the second coat. Whew.
we're getting a lot done. I probably wouldn't even get this much done if I wasn't live streaming, because I would get distracted and I would doom scroll and I would go get a snack. But having people here is like motivating for me to keep working. So I'm gonna just kind of get some of the water out of the brush, like on the canvas, and then dip it back into my paint, and then I'll just use that water as like to help the viscosity a little bit, as a thinner. Again, with the edges, I'm going to get mad at myself that I did this. I was just yelling at myself, like, why do you do this to yourself? And here I am already doing the painted edge technique because I like to make myself crazy. What it means, you also have to like really get over the edge good, because those little bits of white will like shine against a wall. So you have to like really get your edge good all the way around to the back, like further than you think. That little bit of white shows and it looks tacky, in my opinion. All right, there's that. And I just want to get, it doesn't have to, like, I don't have to go crazy. I'm just trying to get a nice even wash. So don't have to go crazy. It can even have like a little bit of water thrown in there, which helps the paint to have better flow. Essentially, if it's really thick, it'll dry faster too that way, which for what I'm doing is ideal. I always add water to my acrylic paint, even if I'm using on a big canvas, just a little bit. Then I get a nice, when the paint levels really well. So if you're familiar with like house painting, there are certain paints that will level really well, which means you can put them on there and you get like the nappy thing from the roller, but the paint like wants to suck into the surface of the sheetrock. Well, the nice thing about these golden paints that I get, they level really well. So even if you have like ridgy like brush strokes that you wouldn't really want on like a really nice smooth surface, the paint itself like pulls into the canvas weave and sets up and levels beautifully, so that you don't really see any of that when it's dry. So I'm just trying to get a nice even coat. So that second coat helps a lot with the reflectivity of the white canvas. So it doesn't have to be like perfect. It just needs to like cover. And that's why I add a tiny bit of water, because it doesn't need to be perfect. It just needs to get coverage, uniform coverage. And then I can get like the white bits on the edge here, and, you know, just make sure sometimes I'm a little sloppy, especially if you're trying to not touch the edge. So there we go. I do like this color. It's darker than I had intended it to be, but I think it works on the piece. The shift between the yellow and the purple is so drastic. Now my husband, you can see the race car body back there. And if you want to let me know, running late. Oh, that stinks. Oh, well. I probably will need to go get a snack then. But yeah, so my husband, after I started doing all the outlining of this piece, started saying to me, like, I think that yellow could be too bright. You may need to tone it down like a little paler. So I don't know. I'm taking votes right now on that idea. All right, I think I'm almost to the bottom edge when it gets, you know, where I need to get a second coat, the last little bit of second coat, because I got it all the way around the other 3 edges. And I'm just trying to smooth it out some, because even though the paint levels well, I have OCD, you know, so I just kind of like run the paintbrush really quickly back and forth over the surface, which kind of like gives it a nice even flat appearance. I'm going to get this last edge, and then this one will be ready to go for whatever I decide to do. Maybe another one of these types right here. So that's usually what I do if I have like enough paint to do a full coat. Then I tend to do one of those. So we'll see. Like I said, I'm collaborating more with my husband on artwork. So some of these we'll be collaborating on together, and I'll be like getting his input to know what he thinks is the next thing that should happen on the canvas. All right,
that one feels pretty dry. I don't know if I trust it to put tape on it when I just painted it. I feel like it needs to cure overnight when I do that. So those always take several days because in between the coats, if I put tape on it, I do tend to want it to cure for me. I'm trying to look at the other pieces that I have and see if there's really anything left that needs to be, if anything else needs this purple paint on it. So I think what I will do while I'm here and while I am on a roll, I'm gonna put tape down on these. So if you recall, I did a tape reveal. I pulled the tape off of here, and well, and this is what I had finished up with. So I'm not sure. I wanted. What do you think? Is it done, or does it need more layers? This one I'm just torn on. This one I don't feel torn on. Maybe it's because the directional quality. Now this one, like, see how the lines come in and go out like that? So this one I decided to do, whoops, I almost sat down on a wet painting. This one I did like this though. So I don't know. This one I feel like needs more. So I think what I'm gonna do is tape this off. This one, I don't know. Not sure what I'm feeling. I'll start with this one. At least if I can get this tape down, then maybe I'll take a break. Because what is 166 minutes divided by 60? Well, let's see, 3 hours would be 180 minutes, right? Is that normal to do a YouTube live for that long? I don't know. There were people here and I didn't want to turn them away, so I just kept going. I thought I would do like 1 hour, but I'll take 3 hours for sure. All right, so I'm going to cover up the one, like the two sections that had been exposed, and I'm going to uncover the section that, well, I already uncovered it. If you were here earlier, you saw me rip the tape off. So I'm going to go, in other words, I'm going to go back to applying paint to the side that was covered, to the two sections that were covered. Yeah, if you're telling me you're having overtime, I'm wondering, what time is it? Is it almost 4 o'clock? Really? Oh, goodness. I'm supposed to go play the keys tonight, so I probably will have to wrap this up pretty soon. This might be it for me for today. All right. Last little chunk here. There we go. Well, if you're having overtime, the problem with that is I was supposed to go play tonight, and we're usually supposed to get there by 5:30, so that's not good. What do you mean you're having overtime? Does that mean I have to drive myself in my frozen car? I mean, my car is glued to the driveway right now. Glued. I don't know if I like that idea. It's Thursday night, you know. It's Thursday night. I mean, I can drive there. I just like it when my husband comes home and drives me. I can't drive very well at night because I can't see really very well at all. So my vision is just not good at night for driving anymore. It's really bad. Okay. This was a lot of abstract work today. Normally I am working on like whatever piece I'm working on. But if I take a breather to work on these, then I just have to go through and do them all until they're done, basically. I don't have really a choice. Once I get this going, you just got to stick it out. But what I'm thinking of doing, actually, I don't know what time it is. I have no, well, if my clock over there, my Picasso clock is correct, it's 3:45. So what that means is I probably have reasonably, I don't know, another half hour before I probably should go get prepared for tonight. Yeah, I think I can clean off the other palette that I have before I discontinue what I'm doing for the night. Stick out my tongue. You know what makes it better when you're sticking out your tongue, right? All right, so I'm covering up the areas that I had been recently just applying colors to, and I'm exposing. And you can see they're like similar color palettes that I'm exposing, basically. Although I don't know if that's the best idea, because it could be like repetitive, redundant type of work, but they're both going in different directions. So I figured, you know, why not? Why not? They can be like a pair, 2 peas in a pod, maybe. So yeah, there we go. Some of this is just me experimenting and seeing with, you know, seeing what works, seeing what marks make what marks, you know, what I can do with the tape, whatever. I'm just playing around, having fun with it. So I'm hoping to get all of these, you know, set up with a layer of the very dark purple that I'm working with today, so that I can tomorrow, I can't be here all night tonight. I have somewhere I have to be, unfortunately. But hopefully tomorrow, I won't wrap up that line work tomorrow, but I might get a dent in. That would be cool. I would love that. All right. I didn't have time to do a long format video today, which really, I guess, is not a bad thing, really. I've gotten a lot of work done. But if you go check out my channel, you'll see that I have some posts, some long form video called Just Jenny Lee, and I've just recently been doing those. And then I did like these different like countdown vlogs, and I did a countdown to Christmas scarf vlog. I was crocheting scarves for my daughter. And then in the subsequent Scarf Saga 2.0, I started working on the painting again. And let's see. Yeah. I'm trying to think what else I put up there. Oh, I have some old stuff also. When I first got onto YouTube and I thought like I could use it or do it or whatever, and I realized, wow, this is intense and challenging, and I don't know if I can do this. I don't know if I'm cut out for this, but I think I got my brain wrapped around what I want to do. I think everybody has to like find their own path on this channel. I've now watched so many different people's journeys on YouTube. I spent a lot of time actually discovering what other YouTubers were doing, not to copy them, but to be inspired by, I guess, the really varied amount of ways in which people show what they do, show their lives, share their world with other people, which I just think is really neat. So, all right, these would be ready for marks, and I can move these out of the way and grab, hang on, best tool ever. Grab my plate here, the plate palette. Forgetting what I'm saying here. All right, I want to stand that up so it doesn't get weird. All right, I had a glass palette that was a plate, and I said, I'm going to clean this off, and then I forgot, oh, it's underneath paintings. That's why That makes sense. It's underneath paintings. Grateful that you can be tuned in today. I'm grateful you can be tuned in today too. All right, so here I've got another glass palette with more paint on it. And I'm gonna make some marks on these with my plastic palette knife. So I just like to grab some of the paint and like blend it up. Get a little bit of water in there and like get it a little bit more viscous. And I'm gonna start adding some of these colors to the side now that it is now exposed. And it's just kind of a, like, it's just random. Whatever these ends up being and whatever colors I end up putting on them, you know, whatever marks they end up being. I just let the painting sort of lead the way. And most of the time it knows where it's going. There are times when it doesn't. There are times when it needs a little kick in the bum, but and even if I like make a mark or something, I don't usually fix it. I don't really care. I think it adds to the character, and even if the line isn't perfectly straight, it doesn't really matter to me. So it's just trying to get, you know, a decent array of marks made. I'm gonna grab this one as well. Ooh, that is teal. Wow. It's like reverberating off the red. A little bit more water. Try to make the marks like go over the tape, and some of them start at the top and some like start in the middle. I just try to do all different ones. I try to do thin ones, heavy ones, just all different. Whatever's working for me in the moment. This one, maybe I'll make it to the top. This one I'll come in from the bottom. And just try to like really not think about it too much. I think a lot of art is overthought, and that's why I like doing these, because these big and representational paintings just take a lot of my mental energy. The watercolors that I teach, they take a lot of energy from my brain. And so these are my playtime pieces, and I really like them, and come to find out a lot of people really like them too. So that's always fun when you kind of try something new and you want to keep it really to yourself as your own thing, and then come to find out people are like, actually, I love that. You know, that's awesome. So then I start to take it more seriously myself as well. All right, there's that one. That's looking good. I'm running out of room for stuff. I'm gonna grab this one too. And try to get a little bit of this color in this layer as well. I'm excited about the color palette for the next one we're going to work on, which I was telling you about, called the Artist's Hand. It's going to be like, this is yellows and greens and goes into like dark indigo-y blues. And the last one I did before that, which was Oh Taste and See, is an ice cream cone. It has pinks and purples and oranges and yellow. And the next one that we plan on working on, my husband and I are going to collaborate on it, and it's supposed to be, I think we're going to do, oh, now I can't remember off the top of my head what the color palette is supposed to be, like reds, rusty reds, and oranges into pinks and salmon and pink. I'm trying to remember, but it's similar in some ways to some of them, and unique in other ways. So it's not, I've not quite done that particular color palette before on one of these big paintings, so that should be fun. And then it gives me like a whole nother bunch of pots of paint that I mix up, and gives me a whole nother option for color palette for these guys and whatever else I want to be working on. So it's looking pretty okay, I think. Yeah, that's not bad.
I want to look at this one, my octopus friend here. I just put some new tape. I know it's hard to tell it's an octopus, but if you look closely, it's in there. And when I pull all the tape off, it'll be more obvious. But I'm wondering if I had put this color on it yet. Maybe? It's hard to remember. I want to say I did. All right, I don't want to double that one up. All right, so there's that. What else did I say I was doing? Oh, this one. This one is ready for the tape, and it's ready to be sealed. So I'm going to close that up. And I want to make sure I write down, because this is like the first one that I've ever actually tried to record what I'm doing on the back so that I can remember it, because I never remember. All right, so I did color 6. I did 1 coat, 2 coat. I did 8 tapes, and we sealed it. So now we're going to go on to color 7. Which is going to be, wait a minute. I did 8 tapes. I sealed them. Yeah, so now I'm going on to go. I can't think of what to do. Listen, it's really hard to remember how to have so many paintings going at the same time. All right, color number 9 for this one, right? Let's double check. No, that is color number 9. So this gets tape now in color 10. Is that where we're at? I don't know what I'm doing. Color 9. We're going to put down tape. Then we're going to, that's right. Okay. I forgot what I'm doing. That's because my husband did this with me and I forgot what we were doing. We did 8 tapes. We sealed it. And now I'm doing the next color. I forget what I'm doing half the time when I'm doing this. I get myself so confused. I don't even know how I keep track of anything that I'm doing. And I see it's 4 o'clock, which means I probably should get going. Sadly. But let's get 9 tapes on here first. Yeah, he had the tapes on there. I sealed them. Now I can't remember what I'm doing. Yeah, this is correct. Oh my gosh. Once I get so much tape on here, I start to lose track of what I'm doing. I know there were 8 tapes put last night, so we're going to do 9 tapes right now. That's the problem with doing this. I think the next one I do, maybe this one. So for this one, I'm thinking of doing the same number of tapes for every layer so I'm not confused. I do like to increase them as I go, but it also gives me a headache because I can't remember what I'm doing, like at all. I need a horizontal one in the middle here. I don't think I've had one for a while. Like there's horizontal ones here and here, but there's nothing here. And I want it to be like good and straight so that it looks like perpendicular to the sides of the canvas. So it makes sense in my brain. 1, 2, 3. Let's do 4 here. Make sure I wrap it all the way around. Oh no, this one's taped around the edge, so I don't need to worry about it. 4. Maybe 5 right here. Yeah. There we go. 5. This one has to be 9. 9 I'm doing. One, 2, 3, 4, 5. Six. Let's do that. Yeah, I don't know how we're going to have pizza for dinner if you're not going to be home and I have to leave by 5 o'clock. It sounds like that won't be happening tonight. Sounds like I'll be going hungry. 1, 2, 3,
4, 5, 6. Yeah, I'm gonna have to go eat a peanut butter sandwich, I think, before I go play the piano. 7, which, you know, could be worse. 8. And 9. Doesn't have to be a big one. It could be little, like that. So it could be little. All right. So now I'm going to go back with color number 9 and, whoops, seal this tape. And that's how I get the tape lines to be so clean. So color number 9 is under the tape, 2 coats. That's why I get confused sometimes. So color number 9 is under the tape in 2 coats on all the spots that there's canvas. Now I'm going to go and seal all the tape edges with that same color so that when I paint the subsequent layer and I pull the tape off, it won't feather underneath the edge, basically. Which this says it's color number 9. It doesn't look like it, but we're going to go with it because that's what it says on the top of the jar. All right. And so for this coat, really all I have to do is just paint the edges of the tape. I don't have to paint the whole canvas. I just want to make sure that I get a good coat so that it actually seals the tape. And in fact, really, I ought to be smart first and make sure I push them all down good. Sometimes if I'm doing a live stream or something or trying to record myself or teach, I end up forgetting like stuff that I would naturally do intuitively in my studio because I'm talking. But anyways, there's the tape sealed with my fingernail, and now I'm going to seal it with the paint. If it's butt up against another one, I don't really need to, but I do just to be safe. So it's just like an old painter's trick, basically, so that you can get a nice crispy edge. But I do get confused, and I have like notes on the back, but I still get confused. And this works pretty good, actually. I love doing this when we were painting houses because that edge, when you pull it, it's just so good. It's so tight, man. It's such a clean line. So yeah, all I'm doing right now is just basically painting the edge of the tape down flat. And that way, if anything bleeds under the tape, it's just the same color that it's sitting on top of. Then I can go through with whatever color I want afterwards and paint the canvasy part. And it will not bleed underneath because now I have this tape or this paint right here, creating it like a barrier, basically. And it's this is a paint intense process. It's not like the other little abstracts that I'm using barely any paint on. It's pretty paint intense. I have to coat each layer more than once, then I've got to seal the tape. So you have to make sure you have, enough paint to do the 3 coats basically. And this 3rd coat isn't a full coat. You're just painting the edge of the tape. But once you get a lot of tape on there, it ends up taking up most of the canvas basically. So, 9 pieces of tape, there's a lot of edge to cover as opposed to when I first put down the first 3 pieces. But I do think once I finish this and it's ready to dry, oh, you know what? I could do, did I do a second coat on this one? I'm just trying to literally get myself set up for success tomorrow. This one also needs a second coat, which it's ready for. Once that is done, I honestly think I have gone just about as far as I can go without you know, before reasonably taking a break. I would have to like shift gears basically at that point, and I don't think that would be very interesting for a live stream, but I also have to leave, so. This is getting a little tacky. I better get it a little spritzy spritz. There we go. There's not a lot of this paint left. This is going to be just enough to do touch-ups on the big painting behind me, and I better not use any more after that because I won't have any left, and I'll be scrambling to touch the painting up, which always needs a few touch-ups by the end. The edges, especially because I do wrap the image. These big paintings, I wrap the image around the edge, and they get scuffed up. So I need to figure out a way to like seal them maybe a little bit more permanently. That would be kind of cool. Because man, once I have them somewhere and hanging and I don't have the paint anymore, then I'm kind of out of luck if the edges get scuffed up. So it's the only problem I have with doing the edges like that. I sometimes get nervous that I'm going to lose the edge, and I'm about to lose paint on here. I'm running out. So I will have just enough to do tiny touch-ups, and that is about it. Otherwise, I'd have to try to mix the color again, and it's never, ever exactly the same. All right, there we go. So I got all the edges of this sealed pretty good, I think. So I'm going to call this one quits. Whew, one more. I'll tell you, this is like improving my stamina, if nothing else. This one's pretty dry, but it's got the 2 coats, so. It's not dry enough for tape, though. It's tacky. There's so much paint on it. So what I do sometimes with that is I have a little vent here, a little air vent, and I just go set it up next to it, just like a recirculating thing. All right, the very last thing I think I'm going to do during this particular live stream is just get the second coat of this purple down. And then I'll be like as accomplished as I could ever have hoped to be on a Thursday afternoon. So yeah, I'm really particular about paint getting good coverage. I don't like wishy-washy acrylic paint. I really feel like that's best reserved for not like this. It's not like that. That's like the mark making. They're not all equally heavy in their application of paint, but like for this type of process, I like the paint to be really solid and kind of hit you in the face with its opacity. So I always do 2 coats on the big painting behind me. I always do 2 coats. It's just not enough. And when you put that second coat on there, it's like, oh yeah, that was worth it, you know. I've got enough of this purple paint to do quite a bit with, but if I'm not careful, I'm going to run out too. So I still got a good bit. But that's why I add a little bit of water, because I don't really need a ton if I thin it out some. But even if I didn't thin it out on the first coat, I've noticed it's still really not enough. It's just better to put 2 slightly thinner coats than try to get it in one, because there's always going to be something that you miss. So I like that second just cleanup coat. It just gives it a little bit of like a better depth of opacity that I feel like you can get that you can't get in one coat. And this big fat size 12 brush just makes it really easy to do that without like mopping up a ton of paint inside of bristles, which I wouldn't want to waste. So anyways, if you've been here for my live stream, I really appreciate you. I thought I was going to go on for like an hour, but there's been people hanging out the whole time. So I just kept working. I get to go play the piano for a little bit with some friends, which I'm really excited to get to do, and change my like use a different section of my creative brain. And yeah, I'll probably bring some crochet for the downtimes and do that as well. So usually I am being creative in one way, shape, or form throughout the whole day, no matter what, whether I'm painting or crocheting or even playing the piano, which I do sometimes, a couple times a month. So I tend to not really do things that aren't creative no matter what I'm doing. My hobbies tend to be creative across the board. So anyways, if you've been here for this live stream and you've hung out, I really appreciate you. If you're interested in following my journey, I would love to have you along. And if you hit that subscribe button, then you'll get notified of all the fun posts that I do and all of the live streams that I'm holding, which I plan to be doing just on a regular basis now that I understand that YouTube is way, way, way better than TikTok for that. TikTok is kind of a dumpster dive, in my opinion, at this point. So no offense, TikTok. I liked you, but YouTube is better. So yeah, I really do appreciate you. I thank you so much for being here. And I guess I will catch you in the next live stream. So thanks so much. Have a fantastic Thursday. Have a great rest of your week. If you enjoyed this, I'll be back tomorrow afternoon for more fun in the studio.